Hello, welcome to another episode of XenoChat. I am Tyler, along here with my co-host Justin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back.
Okay, now it's a Halloween season, and what better way to celebrate with some cosplay talk? First up, let's talk about our guests today. We got quite a few here. First up, we have Kat.
Well, I'm not actually here, but I'm here. Hello.
You're here. You're here. You're here.
Okay.
We support you. And we also have Nick.
Hi, no special weird intro this time. It's just me, yeah.
And we got B.
Happy spooky season.
And we have Marie.
Hello.
And we have two new guests with us today. We have Clarissa.
Hello.
And Reyne.
Hi there.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, as I said, we're going to be talking about cosplay to suit the season. This is actually an idea from David, so shout out to David.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so since we have brand new guests, it's been a while since we've had brand new guests. So what we do with new guests is we usually ask them about their backstories with their, either their connection or love of the Xeno series, or how you got into it. So would one of you want to jump in and share that with us?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
So, it's actually kind of funny, at least funny to me, because I actually found out about Xenoblade from Smash Brothers. So I used to be super into the Smash Brothers games and would go to tournaments and everything for them. And when Shulk was added, I'm like, okay, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. So I actually ended up really enjoying his gameplay, and I'm like, okay, I feel like it's only right that I play the game that this guy is from. So I got my hands on a copy of Xenoblade Chronicles, and I absolutely fell in love with the game. So I went from the person who's like, oh my gosh, it's Shulk from Smash Brothers, to the person that's like, oh my gosh, it's Shulk from Xenoblade. It's
Nice.
It's been a really unique perspective.
Now, be honest, it was the shirtless alt that did it.
You know, it's really funny that you mentioned that, because that was actually my first version of Shulk that I cosplayed. I mean, I obviously, I wore a flesh tone shirt, but that was my first Shulk cosplay.
That's amazing.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right, wait. How about you, Reyne?
My start is surprisingly similar. I also saw Shulk in the old Smash Brothers and thought, who is this guy? He's really cool. And I got his game on the 3DS when it came out, because the Wii was long departed from my home. But I think the 3DS experience was really enjoyable, because I know a lot of people were wondering why on the 3DS this is this huge JRPG. But I think having it be able to be portable and take it with me was really fantastic, and now that has carried over into the Switch version.
That was the big flex. You could play this giant game on here.
Yeah.
Honestly, what was that, like a secret hint to the Switch in the first place?
And you know what's weird about this? I'm going to go on a very, very, very brief tangent on this. What's so weird about Xenoblade 3D was one of the very few 3DS, well, not 3DS, very few
new 3DS
exclusives.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I remember I barely saw Nintendo advertise it. Every single time there was a new 3DS ad, they would show Pokemon and Mario 3D Land, games that you could play on the regular 3DS. But it was very rare that I would ever see Xenoblade 3D featured on there, and that always bothered me. I'm like, you guys ported this big RPG on this hardware that's supposed to have a newer processor, which was something that they specifically advertised too. Mm-hmm. Yet they don't show the one game that actually took advantage of it. That always irked me, and I never understood why that was the case.
Oh, I can't imagine the meeting where that came across the Nintendo of America desk. Hey, guess what they just did with this game? Like, we got this big game running on the new 3DS. And Reggie's like, oh, what is it? And he's like, Xenoblade Chronicles. And his face just, like, turns into a frown. I thought I got rid of you!
Yeah, right. Tried to get rid of it during the Wii era. We gotta do it again on the 3DS.
Well, I guess one good thing about starting there is like if you don't have the Wii, that's a good way to access it. And if you don't look it up, you won't have anything to like compare it to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like it's not that a bit
True.
like a lot of us who like started from the old games and like we will like right away compare stuff.
I mean, 3DS was just as HD as the Wii was, so...
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that you both started from Smash. I think it's pretty cool still. If anything, I think I have to thank Smash for like bringing more people into that fandom because God, it kind of needed like a bit more love.
Yeah.
It's valid. It's still valid.
Yeah, I think for me, like with I get that Smash comparison because I used to play a lot of, especially like Melee and Brawl. I had a lot of siblings, and we used to do that a lot. And that just being, I remember having Nintendo Power at the time, which was what really got me into the Blade series, especially because that was like at the time I'd played some RPGs for sure, but I really wanted to like take a deeper dive into like the bigger, like more fantastical JRPGs, and the one that immediately just was like, oh, I can't ignore this anymore. I really should get into this genre because I love some of like the crazy stuff they do with it was that game. So I get that. Like I feel like in a way I almost come from a similar place.
Anyways, shall we go to the main topic?
Yep.
All right, yeah. So yes, this is all about cosplay. So I have very limited experience myself with cosplay, and I know there's a varying degree of people with various backgrounds here.
Yes.
So I will let you guys kind of go into it. So let's see. So I guess what we could discuss is why or I guess how you got into cosplay and why you like, I don't know, it resonates with you so much. So if you want to, I don't know if either Clarissa or Reyne, you want to start us off.
I can start this one.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Go for it.
So I started cosplay because one of my very extroverted friends convinced me to attend a convention. And it's like, I had no idea that cosplay was even a thing. I didn't watch anime, so I'm just like, why are you taking me here? But I went, and needless to say, I had a very good time. I think just being opened up to this space where, like, costumes go beyond Halloween, and you can do this whenever you want, and people do, and people make these absolutely incredible artworks completely from scratch. It just really like opened my eyes to what was possible through art, I suppose. And I think that continues to motivate me today. Just the potential that's available through cosplay. It's like there's really nothing that's out of reach. Because even if you don't know how to achieve a result, somebody does, or somebody can help you figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Nodding, yes.
Nodding to all of this, very
All
in
of this,
agreement.
exclamation.
To audibly nod,
Yes.
hit your head against the microphone to make sure we know.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
let's
not
not
the
do a
community.
booped on the microphone.
Yeah, just boop the mic with your forehead. Yep.
Please don't.
Don't.
But that sense of community that arises through like this mutual creativity, is something that's really important to me about cosplay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, agree.
How about you, Clarissa?
Kind of in a similar way. It's actually really funny now that I hear this. I used to be really into Halloween because of the whole, like, dressing up in a costume sort of deal. And after a while, I realized, like, oh, I could, like, dress up as, like, my favorite video game characters on Halloween. Like, that'd be super cool. I didn't know about cosplay at the time, but, when I did that, one of my friends, one of my extroverted friends from school at the time, she dragged me to, well, she didn't really have to drag me, but she took me to a local con that I didn't even know about. I didn't know about anime conventions. I was into anime and gaming at the time, so like I knew about a lot of the characters I saw. So when I was taken to this con, I was shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, people do this, and like it doesn't have to be just for Halloween. And just seeing how amazing the cosplays that I saw were, it was honestly extremely inspiring. And the fact that I was kind of like wandering around in my like really shoddy like novice cosplay that I had like just made and put together. I think I was Toon Link because I was really into Smash Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was dressed as Toon Link, and like just everyone was so nice and welcoming, and I think that sense of community also kind of pulled me in because like you had these really like amazing cosplays, and they were like still like super friendly, and I didn't feel like intimidated or anything. So I think that friendliness and the like lack of like, oh, it's weird to dress up as a video game character, that really kind of sucked me into cosplay. And I think being able to bring a character that you really like kind of to life is something that I'm really fond of. It's just kind of like the grandest like compliment to a character that I can offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, actually, you kind of bring up something that could be kind of fun for us to all to talk about. Let's talk about our first cosplays, or the first like costume that we consider a cosplay.
Well, in a sense, my introduction to cosplay could also be brought into that.
Yeah. I'm just saying when you're introducing it, like also talk about your first one.
Yeah. Can do that.
Mine is surprisingly a good story, but go on.
Yeah.
All right. Basically, what was it?
You can go. Go ahead.
Okay. Basically, how I started was I was going to school like with some, and like I had some friends over there that we had made like a sort of little anime club thing, and like basically one of my friends from there was like, oh, you know, like I know that you work part-time and you have some money and stuff, like would you be interested coming to a convention, because like one of her friend had to cancel, and it was like, sure, where is it? And she was like, oh, it's in Toronto. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'd be down. And so one of her other friends like got to know about it, and like the next day she came with her cosplay in hand and threw her cosplay at me, being like, here, like, have my cosplay, you just need to find a wig because I lost it. So basically she threw at me like a Zelos cosplay from Tales of Symphonia. And it was like, okay, I'm down to cosplaying this.
Surprise cosplay.
Surprise cosplay. And yeah, I basically went there, and let's just say that it was Anime North. Anime North was my first convention, and it was very big. So when I got there, I was just like the jaw on the floor, kind of, just like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but this is paradise, and I spent way too much money. It was like basically the first con, you're like, oh, I want to buy everything.
Yeah.
Oh god. But also, yeah, the cosplay, like, I really enjoyed wearing the costume, even though I was confused half of the time, and I had some fangirls running after me sometimes because Zelos. And it's like, I don't understand what's going on. But it was very fun still.
You just couldn't get enough after that.
Yeah. But anyways, I continue on cosplaying and going to cons after that. Like, I had a circle of friends who, like, were into cons, and, like, it just kept growing, and eventually I just started going to a lot of Canadian cons. Sometimes I go to USA ones, but those are a bit more difficult considering the price. But yeah, I do go sometimes. But yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Let's see. B, would you like to go next?
Sure. So my story is very similar to Reyne's story. I was in tail end of high school. I'm in my 30s, so that's quite a while ago. And we heard of this convention in Toronto. That we're like, okay, well, let's go check it out. So I couldn't drive at the time, so my parents drove my brother and I all the way out to Toronto to Anime North, and we loved it so much that we wanted to keep going. But what blew me away was the cosplay. Like, people would dress up in these elaborate costumes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, how did they do that? Like, what? And some of these characters that I loved, at that time I was really into anime, they were brought to life. So the following year, my first anime was Misaki from Angelic Lair. And I made a little, if you know the anime, it's about battle dolls. And I made a little Hikaru. I found like at a thrift store. So I made a little Hikaru and I made myself a visor. And it was very like cheesy and everything, but I was very proud of it. And people actually recognized me. I'm like, oh my god.
That's sick.
But like what Reyne said, and I'm gonna echo their words. I treat it as a visual art form. It's what I can do with the material and expand it into my vision. So, because I'm getting older, I have to slow down and my hands can't do what they used to. So I'm now 3D printing cosplay parts. I'm designing on a computer and printing. And I'm taking it my own way. Like, a lot of my cosplays are inspired by one thing, and then I do my little spin on it. And I just like having that like escape from reality, because my like adult life is more, it's very public life, but I want to do something private that's special to me. And this art form cosplay is my special escape from reality kind of thing. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. All right. How about you, Nick?
Okay, well, okay. With me, like, I was going to cons for a while before I got into cosplay. The thing is, where I grew up, it's pretty rural, and the con scene didn't really get very big for quite some time. So, I guess around the end of like my high school years, my brother started paying a little bit of attention, saying, "Hey, there's like this convention. I heard about this being here." So we started kind of like going just really on and off. It was like not really a huge like thing we were super committed to, with just every now and then we would go to one. And then a little bit later there was one in the town not far from us that started kind of getting not really big, but like they started a con and it got kind of popular, and we were going to that like each year. That one was a lot of fun because it was just kind of smaller and such. I had always seen cosplayers and thought, oh yeah, that seems like I kind of want to do that, but I don't know if I have it in me. I've always been like fairly craft minded. Like full disclosure of that. I feel like part of that comes from just my dad working as a carpenter and stuff, and I like worked with him for a while and stuff. So and I also have like I grew up drawing and things like that. So I was like doing stuff like that, but I always thought, oh no, that's way like out of my reach, is what it always felt like. And I didn't want to do something like too simple, I guess, like, anyway, what ended up happening was eventually, my story is kind of really connected to like actually meeting HK and becoming friends with HK. Or sorry, I should refer to.
It's
Rosa.
fine. It's fine. People say HK or.
I know. I just like
okay.
So as not to confuse like our guests or anything. And Mary kind of like, it had been in the cosplay thing for quite a while, and kind of convinced me that, oh yeah, no, you're fully capable. It's just like look into this and this, like, look at all this stuff. And at the time, I was like, oh yeah, I really want to come up and visit. You come and like visited us, like me and my friends, because we met through like a mutual friend at the time, and I wanted to go there and visit, and we were planning it, and I wanted to go and catch the con because she had kept talking up like this con, and so I decided, like, in the background, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's like time for me to like try my hand at cosplay. And at first, I was like, and I could like do this. I came up with like a cosplay that I could do, and I that I felt like I could do anyway. And I was like, I had all this stuff like planned out, and I was like, but I'm gonna kind of surprise with it. At first, I was gonna do like that. I was like, not gonna realize that I actually have a cosplay for this. And eventually, I got to a point in it where I was like, really, it was taking me a lot of time to put this thing together, and I just had to come clean and admit, yeah, I'm working on a cosplay now. So anyway,
yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, I managed to get it done well enough, and since Mary and I had talked about it, like, she agreed to like help me do the wig, because I was like, I have no, like, even with like studying, I'm really afraid to like cut this wig. And I got all this help.
I often end up being the one that does the wig of people.
I got like all this help, all these recommendations.
It's fun.
Yeah, she fully designed my wig. If it tells you anything, my first cosplay was actually Sheikah Link from Breath of the Wild, from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So yeah, it wasn't all that long ago. It was around 2018 probably, 2017, 20. No, it was pretty early. After the Switch came out, it was like maybe the same year.
2017.
I think it was 2017. So, honestly,
it feels like it was yesterday, though.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, like I didn't do the wig. I didn't do actually any sewing. I did the armor, but the armor on that costume was like pretty light. So I just used some foam, some like EVA foam, and some craft foam, and like I reinforced some of it with like little wires that I put inside it, and it was like very shoddy if you saw the backside of it. But I ended up buying like a like one of those morph suits, basically, and painting it for the rest, for like the that portion of it. And
yeah,
I don't know, I'm still pretty happy with how it turned out, considering. But I would definitely do it different now. But yeah, I wouldn't have gotten into cosplay if not for that. So that's pretty much my thing on that.
I'm happy I got you into it. I gave you the little push you needed.
Well, I mean, since then I've learned to like, do a lot of things, use a sewing machine, work with foam a little bit. I'm still not
really
great,
like
but...
the most intimidating thing about cosplay is really like taking the first step into going to the unknown, so to speak. Because like at first nobody knows how to do anything. You just go in and you're like, oh god, that's so many skills I need to learn to do this one costume.
Oh yeah, and like going into sewing,
but as you go, you eventually pick up more skills, and like you do some oopsies and you learn from them,
I felt like it was, I mean, it was still kind of like difficult in some ways to get into sewing, but it helped a lot that like whenever I was a lot younger.
Yeah, sewing can definitely be a bit tricky.
Yeah, whenever I was a lot younger, my grandma sewed a lot and kind of taught us how to do some of that. So, which we just used yarn back then. We did like those little, like you cut out the little things and you make like to make the shape, and then you like sew a shape or something, color by numbers almost kind of thing. But yeah,
we should probably move to the next thing. Next thing was like about the Xeno cosplays, basically. Like we did our intro, and now I guess we could go into each of our Xeno cosplay adventures.
Well, yeah, since this is a Xeno-themed podcast, we a lot of us have experience with Xeno cosplays. Like, a lot of you guys have really cool cosplays from the Xeno series. So if you don't mind, like, I don't know, talking about some of your Xeno cosplay past and maybe some of your favorite Xeno cosplays you've done.
You could start by the guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you
So, how about you, Clarissa?
Okay, yeah, sure. So, I did mention that technically my first Shulk cosplay was the swimsuit Shulk.
Awesome,
If
by the
you
way. Awesome.
if you want to count that, I have 6 total Xenoblade cosplays. I never expected all of that to happen, but in order, I've cosplayed swimsuit Shulk and then normal Shulk because I actually ended up having time to make his like actual outfit or his standard outfit.
Nice.
And then I made Morag from Xenoblade 2,
Oh, nice.
and then I made swimsuit Morag, and then I made Malos from Xenoblade 2, and then most recently I made Tyon from Xenoblade 3.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I love.
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if I can pick a favorite because I love all of the characters so much. That's kind of like partially how I pick the cosplays that I make. They're all like very different as far as like skills needed to make them. So like Morag is pretty sewing heavy while Malos is really armor heavy, so I cannot pick a favorite between those. And then I adore all the characters to bits, but I think probably my most wow factor cosplay out of those would probably be Malos, just because I don't think many people have cosplayed him. So people are always like really surprised. At least that's kind of my interpretation of how people react to that cosplay. I learned so much making all of these, especially the most recent ones, so Morag, Malos, and Tyon. Very fun cosplays to wear too. Malos is a little uncomfortable, but it's worth it. It's worth the pain.
I also like that you've done at least one character per each of the main trilogy.
Yeah, I just it kind of happened because I honestly did not expect to make both Morag and Malos. That was kind of a situation because I'm like, I don't know which character I want to wear to like a con or something. But yeah, I just each time I played one of the games, I'm like, ooh, I really like this character. I need to cosplay them now, and it just kind of happened naturally.
So now we just gotta get you to cosplay someone from Xenoblade Cross. I'm saying that before a Xenoblade Cross fan gets mad at me for saying main Xenoblade trilogy. So I have to cover my ass right there.
You should see our DM conversation from last week then.
Yeah, it might happen. I think it's possible. I've learned enough.
So there you go, Xenoblade Cross fans. You don't gotta kill me now.
Which
dude,
which
I'm
character,
right here.
which character would you be interested in cosplaying, or is that a secret?
I don't think it's a secret. Is it a secret, Reyne?
No.
Okay. I'm thinking about cosplaying Elma.
Nice.
Ooh.
Nice.
What do you mean, which character? That's the only. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, so now they're gonna go kill you.
No, I mean that's the coolest one to cosplay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. Like several years ago, like when I was actually playing that game, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to cosplay her. Like, I think I could do it, but I ended up not doing that. Obviously, I don't remember exactly why. Probably because one, my skill set was not exactly where it needed to be at the time, and like I could have made her, but it would be really rough probably.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I'm like, I think I'm like prepared now. I can do this now.
Yeah, sometimes we need to work through a couple projects before getting to one we've been hiding for sometimes. Yeah, that can definitely happen.
If I can pull off my next 2, I might go for that same cosplay.
Well,
sweet.
Sweet.
Well, good luck, Clarissa. I really want to see how that turns out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Reyne?
So I've done 3 characters, 4 cosplays. Because my first cosplay that I did was Elvis. I did him, 2016, I believe? And it was all like thrifted and altered items with a lot of help from my high school Latin teacher Karen, who is the GOAT. So thank you, Karen. But yeah, like I was still very early in like my cosplay journey at that point, and had only made I think one costume by myself at that point, and I think I knew that Alvis was beyond my skill level, but I still wanted to be him to the best of my ability. So I made that one, and he lasted a good long while. I wore him for 6 years. And just recently, last year, I remade the costume from scratch. Learned a lot about sewing. Made it work. I think it looks fantastic. It fits fantastic. And I'm just so happy with it as like a representation of how far my skills have come and how my love for the series and the character has persisted. My second one was Jin's true form from Xenoblade 2. Because I love Jin. He's so cool, and his outfit it was just so like over the top and fun, and like I want to do that one. I'm gonna push myself.
Yeah,
and
honestly,
so
I was
myself...
really impressed when I saw that one. I was like, holy.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, damn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I pushed myself in two ways with that one, because firstly it was just a challenge of construction, because like it was a whole lot of foam armor and just figuring out how to make it all.
Yeah.
And the second was I was doing it in my college dorm room.
Oh.
So I was very tight on space.
That's not a lot of space.
Yeah.
And then I was at school in Vermont, but the con I was bringing him to was in Michigan. So I had to figure out how to get it on the airplane. And it fit in my luggage somehow, surprisingly. So I was happy with that. And my third is Callian from Xenoblade 1. I like him a lot just because he's much more of a less well-known character. So like when people recognize me, you know they're a real one.
Yeah. That's always fun.
I really love his design. Like I had him.
Yeah.
I save images of characters and I put them on my computer desktop if I know I want to cosplay them at one point. So then whenever I open my computer, I'll see them and think, all right, maybe I should do that. But he was one of those ones where it's like, I know he's well beyond my skill level right now, but one day. So I think he was on there for 2 years or something. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go. And that was the first time I sewed without any help. And that was like really important for my development as a sewer. Because like sewing is it's not very intuitive, I think, especially with the sewing machine. So I'm really proud of how I figured out how to make everything work.
Yeah. I get
my
that.
favorite part of him is his head wings. They're just really fun to wear.
They're heavy.
I forgot my most important costume. I don't remember. It's because I don't wear them. I don't really consider them costumes at this point. They are more set pieces in my basement. My very first costumes were the Bionis and the Mechanis. The entire one.
Yeah, those.
The whole...
I remember.
Because I was how it worked at my high school is everybody does a senior project, but your senior project can be literally whatever you want. So I said, I want to learn basically how to make foam armor, because I had been to conventions, I'd seen people make these really impressive things, but like I had no idea where to start. It was really overwhelming. So I'm just like, if I make this a contingency for my graduation, that will be motivation for me to actually get it done.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I did. And somehow I learned how to work with foam. I learned about all the different materials and contact cement. I asked around the cosplay community, how do you do this? I think that was really important, just to like put myself out there more and get advice from other crafters is one of the most important things you can do. So like forcing myself to do that was really helpful. And like even if up close they're not the best costumes, like they're still super impressive and I'm so happy with them.
Yeah. I remember the pictures. I was like, whoa, that's so cool.
I was honored to meet them in person once.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
What I like about hearing about Reyne's stories here is that like they're starting this in high school, right? It's cool that like folks even back then, like at that point in their lives, have access to cosplay and all that stuff. And I think that just speaks wonders of how much more accessible this scene has become. Because like, and I don't think I'm that old, but even when I was in high school, like you weren't seeing people doing that.
Yeah, in my early days of cosplay, it was try to gamble about a wig on eBay and like try to maybe buy costumes out of China and hope for the best.
That's why I made my own. I'm like, it's not gonna fit.
At some point, that's why I started making my own too. But like at first, it was like I didn't really have any help or whatever, so it was just like I just kind of went in and tried sewing. It was like, oh well, we'll hope it works.
I very much like your method of diving into the deep end, like, immediately, because I do find that is how you learn the most.
It helps.
Yeah, honestly, that is kind of the way to go about it.
Of course, I failed really big time with that.
Back then also, there was not... Back then also, there was not really any tutorials about cosplay whatsoever on the internet.
Absolutely not.
There was nothing.
I don't do cosplay a whole lot. I wear things that I find and assemble. I wear wigs that people style for me. But I do want to make my own stuff, so I'm kind of like shakily trying to get my wardrobe for MagFest assembled to maybe portray my Warrior of Light. But the first con I went to when I was 10, and mind you, I'm 41 now, so this is 30 years ago. They did not call it cosplay in the US yet. They called it masquerade. And there were a ton of cool costumes that I went to at this convention called Balticon in downtown Baltimore. And there was some wild stuff. And it was the first time I'd seen any... It was the first time I'd been to any convention and seen anybody cosplay outside, or not anybody in costume outside of a movie. And it was really inspiring to see all of these people, regardless of age, still want to dress up. And it just sort of like sparked
it's
lifelong respect.
It's very fun to like cosplay and see other cosplays and talk about who did what, how. It's always interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's cool to see how you evolve. Like that's why I specifically asked, like, what are your first cosplays? Because like those are always the ones where you're gonna do something kind of weird. Like I remember the very first time I tried to cosplay.
My Zelos one was the first one that was passed on to me to wear, but I think the first one I actually made was I'm not sure, but I think it was Sai from Fatal Frame 2. I think that's the first thing I made.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And like I made it with a pattern and it worked okay, except for the sewing machine kept getting stuck for some reason. I did not understand why. So I did manage to get through the end of it, and I did go to my kind of weeb Halloween party with it. It was pretty fun.
Whenever I first started, I didn't have a sewing machine yet, and I was trying to work with my grandma's antique one that didn't. It was like I was like, oh, I didn't realize just how old this was. To do a backstitch, you have to literally turn the piece around.
Yeah, there was no backstitch. There was none.
Oh my gosh.
It was
crazy.
Luckily I didn't have to sew too much with it. I mostly just sewed like a scarf and like a few small things, but
yeah, thankfully mine did have a backstitch, but it was my first machine was a very cheap one and it kept getting stuck all the time, and I was just like and eventually I just went to the store to buy a machine and I was like, I'm buying one. I'm tired of this, I'm buying one. And this machine still lives today. So it's a good machine. I guess I should probably go into the Xeno thing on my side too.
Go for it.
Yeah,
I'll
go
after
ahead.
you.
All right. In my case, I did not make as many Xeno cosplays because like my focus all over the place with my games that I love. But I did like start Margie like years ago, and like I only finished the hat like last year because I burnt out a couple of times on it.
And it looked amazing.
Yeah. Let's just say Margie was like a bit of a challenge and like all the things I knew about sewing over the years, but like what really was challenge had been the most highest challenge on that cosplay was like the patterning of the cape. Like when I started this cosplay, I was like, oh, the cape is just a cape. It's probably gonna be easy, right? Right. I got to it. It was like, nope. I do not understand what this contraption is. Even today, there are some parts that still hold with like pins because I had not figured out how to make it permanently attached together.
When you actually
I just
look
went
at
like,
the
screw
thing,
it.
yeah, when you actually look at this thing, it almost looks like a cloak made for dolphins or something. It's so weird.
It's like I was looking at the different art, and like that's the other thing that was challenging with this cosplay is that the references are like all over the place, and it's just like try to pick what you want to do because like one reference is this way and the other reference is this way. You barely have any reference of the back. You just have the pixels.
Yeah, it was worse than the albedo one where I was like, which reference you're using? All of the above.
Yeah, it's just like because it's an old game, like you don't have nearly as much references and they're very inconsistent. So whenever I was doing the cape, I wanted to scream because I was just like, "Are you a cape? Are you a mantle? Do you have sleeve? Do you not have sleeve?" It's just and so it was like a pattern nightmare. But I think the hardest part of it was that it kind of drapes in a like specific way, and like I had to figure out how to do my cut so that it would drape a certain way. And that's what was like making my mind explode. But the funny thing is like the other thing that I thought would be the hardest part, which was the overall, actually was one of the things that went the most smoothly. It's just like it took a very long time, but it went the most smoothly. It was all straight lines. Everything was dandy. It's all straight lines. All is good, but like, oh god. But I also had a pattern for the overall that actually, for once, matched my size, which is a rare occurrence. So like, I did not have to like bang my head against the wall to change it. But yeah, like Margie took me a very long time. As for the hat, I kind of did. What's funny with the hat is that at first I had no idea how to do it, and then I went to do other project, and I did like the wing for Tophe in Avatar, and I used basically the same technique of that for the hat afterwards. I was like, oh, I know what to do for the hat now. I just need to do a slightly different shape and angle, but like it's more or less the same thing. So yeah, I did pretty much that. It's just that the parts of the hat kind of stayed on my table for a very long time because I was burnt out of that cosplay and I went to do other things. And then I came back to it last year. I was like, okay, I'm gonna glue this all together and get it over it. But yeah, Margie also was how I learned to do resin stones. I had not touched resin stones before that. And that costed me quite a bit of money because the big stone in the middle, I had to do my own mold. And let's just say I scrapped 2 of them. So that's a lot of money by the window. But yeah, it was still a fairly cool challenge. And I still really love my cosplay, even though it's rough in some places. But I think I've learned a lot with that cosplay. So I'm thankful to it. It was like, I feel it's like a thing that was like a in between challenger kind of thing, like the boss battle after all these cosplays you've done, like you just go into that one that's a bit higher difficulty. And the other one I did was Junior, though that one's not fully finished. I've done mostly like all of the undergarment, but like I've looked at the jacket and it was like, I don't know if I have the energy to pattern this right now. But when I do, I will pattern it first because I feel I'm gonna need to do a whole mock-off to like understand the shapes of that jacket. And I do have all the materials for it, but considering it's full leather, I'm just like, I'm gonna do a mock-up or two before getting there. But yeah, I will finish that one eventually. But yeah, as for future project of Xeno, I do really, really want to do Laura because I really love her, and it's gonna be my challenger of getting to foam crafting because I have not done a lot of foam things. So yeah, she's gonna be the ultimate challenge on that. And I really want to do Melia's big dress in Xenoblade 3 because yeah, it's just so pretty. But yeah, that's about it as far as cosplay from Xeno for now. But yeah, I'm sorry, I rambled a lot.
Oh, you're fine. I look forward to your future cosplays, especially Laura.
Yeah. Laura's been one I've been wanting to do. I did do a kind of casual thing once, but like I did not get into making the actual cosplay yet. All the materials are there though, so they're just waiting for me downstairs.
Nice.
But yeah, that's about it.
Okay, B, do you want to go next?
Sure. My one and only that I have completed was Queen Nia, the Agnes Queen from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I love the design, and I'm gonna call out Marie on this one because we were supposed to cosplay these together this year, but
yeah, it's
money,
very expensive
money,
cosplay. I do not have money for God knows
all
how
that
many yards of fabric.
Oh my god, yeah. So my Queen Nia is ready to go for next year, with the exception, I think I want to redo the headpiece, which I did build it out of Warbler, and it looks really good. However, there's this weird part where it pokes in on my forehead, and I got like a headache from it. So I'm like, that needs to be redone. So I'm gonna see if there's a way that I can 3D print it, even like make the model myself. And I've been doing a lot of resin work this summer, so some of the gems and jewels that are on that cosplay, I want to redo with resin instead of with crystal warbler that's on there now. That's my one and only. But for future stuff, for Anime North next year, I have plans for the future connected Shulk because the original Shulk, the shorts freak me out, and I don't think I can handle it. I have a viable model, or I've done dabs on a model so I can 3D print the Monado, and my goal, if I can do it correctly, is I want to put the inside where it shows that crest part in resin and surround it with LEDs that change color.
Ooh, LEDs.
Ooh, that would be cool.
I'm learning LEDs currently, so stay tuned. Other future stuff, I have some really good models. You can find some really cool models online. I can't remember the name of the one, but he made some flutes of the Mio and Noah flutes. So I have those models. They print fantastically. So I'm going to cosplay either Mio or Noah at some point. And I'm going to call out Clarissa now because on my back burner of I want to do when I feel comfortable enough is Morag. I really want to do Morag.
Cosplay her.
I don't think I can do it yet. It's
you
the
can
sewing.
Do it.
The sewing freaks me out. The decals and the hat I could probably all model myself in 3D print. But the sewing, like how detailed it is, I'm like, But one day I will show you my Morag because it will be done.
Please.
But, yeah. But for sure it is Shulk. It's coming up next. Yeah. Thank you.
Morag is cool.
I love Morag. As soon as I saw her, I'm like, I gotta do that, dude. I gotta do that. And the more I looked into it, and I'm like,
but then I saw other cosplays, and then I was just like, oh, there's too many.
It's on my list. I have a list on my phone and also on my desktop of I am going to do, and it is top on my list as soon as I feel comfortable enough to tackle it.
Yeah. Yeah,
there, I am done.
I like how you and Reyne both have like cosplay vision boards?
Yes, it is needed, or else you'll be like, I want to do this. No, I want to do this.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
you need to focus.
I
You
should
need to
probably
focus.
do that. I should
Yeah.
take that
Focus.
example.
Yeah, or like I actually did that for a little while. I had a folder on my phone, and I would like save pictures of just characters I like, oh, maybe one day I'll look into doing something like that.
Oh, I got an app for that.
My
Oh, I
issue
didn't
is
know
that
there was an
I'm
app.
both like now I'm both
Cosplanner, I don't know if
obsessed
it's
with
still around.
I'm both obsessed with Monolith games and like all Falcom games, and both of
fine.
them have an insane amount of characters with an insane
just
amount of details. And I'm
Add to
just
your
like,
list, and then
Yeah.
take away from your list if you're like, I'm not feeling this character
Yeah.
anymore.
yeah,
Yeah, the app is Cosplanner, if you can find it. I don't know. I haven't seen it update in a while, so who knows.
yeah. I used to use it, but at some point it got a bit finicky and buggy,
I
and
just use
I
a
kind of stopped
notepad.
using it.
But I mean, that works too. It just it just helps you organize things. Like,
Or,
Yeah.
if you're on Android, there is a checklist you can add to.
Yeah.
that's what this is, an
On
Android
Google
app.
Keep. Yeah.
Okay, would you like to go next, Nick?
Yeah, sure. Just the Xeno cosplays. I have done. So, I mean, I've done Bart, because we did Bart and Margie.
Yeah.
And as far as that goes, I actually was very intimidated by the jacket thing. So, I got well, HK knew someone, and I commissioned them to do the jacket part for me because I was very nervous about the faux leather stuff, especially, and all.
Yeah.
And just
That's
all
hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
material.
so anyway, that was made very nice. As far as like the rest of it, I think the only things I had to actually sew was like the eye patch and
face and parts.
and the pants, yeah. So like the pants, I actually didn't make full pants. I made like two kind of like sleeves that I just wear over a pair of black like dress pants. And they have like spaces for they have like a thing where they're pretty rough. I should
I
remake
think you bought
them.
at the time. I think you bought like a white jeans or something, and you just cut them.
Oh no, I actually made them from scratch.
You actually made them?
Yeah, I
Okay.
made them from scratch.
Wasn't sure. I wasn't
'Cause-
sure if you had like cut actually existing jeans for.
No, I did buy like a very similar material to that though.
Oh.
So,
Nice.
but yeah, no, those were just made from scratch. I mean, I know you helped me like correct a part of them at least, but
Yeah, it was mostly the straps.
it was just like the straps. I had a few that were left.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough, but anyway, we got them done. I got like a weird kind of like like barely put together thing where I had like, because it comes up past your waist with those white sleeve parts of the pants where it like connects with Velcro, and then like they can't fall down because I've got belt loops in them. So like it connects the belt loop to both sets of pants. It really helped. People talk a lot about how many belts like Nomura puts on characters and stuff, but let me tell you, Bart needed both those belts. So, like, that
Yes, he
worked
did.
out. That really worked out.
The only part that makes no sense was the part that's attached a bit further up, because that had to be attached with Velcro, otherwise it would
Yeah.
just fall down.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it worked out. It worked out. I would
It worked out.
definitely want to remake those someday because that material is frayed a lot past few years. But then I found some white boots and things like that. I used a pretty much already existing like an athletic shirt, like one of those ones made with like polyester, nylon, that kind of stuff like that, the synthetic fabrics mixed with cotton and such. And I kind of cut the sleeves out of it to like make the undershirt, because it was just kind of that kind of shirt it looked like in a lot of ways. So that's what I used for that one. And otherwise, I've since done an Albedo cosplay from Xenosaga. And that one, I mean, I didn't do a lot of actual crafting on that one, but it would have just been like a bodysuit and...
You did do a lot of graphical work.
Yeah, okay, so the way I did that one was I made the collar and I made the cape. And those weren't, like, the worst thing. I didn't go into super big detail on the cape or collar because... And I also made the little medallion he has on his chest. I ended up using mostly all the references I could find from the original Albedo from like Xenosaga 1. But I think I used his version 2 medallion thingy he has on his chest because it just looked better to me. Like the first one was just an X or something, and the second one... So it's almost like a mixture of the two designs. And I painstakingly went over both these designs because I found a printing company that would print across, like, over seams onto, like, either a morph suit or... otherwise. And to make it easier for me, I bought basically like the morph suit kind of things, except for I bought it as separate pants and shirt. So it's like form-fitted, but I have a separation in the two. And it also helped because Albedo has this weird thing where he has like these interlocking patterns that overlap between pants and like top, where it's like really hard to determine like where one ends and the next begins. And by doing that, I was able to like kind of make a design that made it work. So you can send in any design to this site and they will print it as you sent it, as long as it's within their perimeters. And so I spent a lot of time just in a Photoshop document remaking that design from Albedo's suit and sent it off to them. Luckily it printed really well. And that's what I owe that cosplay to. But those are really the only two Xeno ones I've actually completed thus far. I've wanted to do Jin for a while, and I really want to do Zeke at some point in the future. God, I would also love to do Elma, but I've got an upcoming cosplay I'm kind of like on and off working on that. If that works out, I'll feel confident for Elma.
I think I will say this though, I always kind of wanted to do Cosmos, but at the same time, every time it's just like, I don't know if my skill level's there.
You could do
so much crap.
You could do, I don't know. You could do version 2. Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point you just gotta throw yourself off the cliff and see how it ends up.
But it's also like, I think the other thing about Cosmos is that it's also a lot more like sexy, and like I'm just like a bit less confident with it. But
listen,
like, I need to get over that eventually.
We all have impossible cosplay standards. There's like at least three.
Yes.
There's like at least three female characters I want to cosplay at some point. And also, I've seen people cosplay Adenine. So.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Wait, really? Oh,
I've seen at least somebody. I think I've seen at least one person.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that.
I'd like to see it too.
I just found a picture online because I was curious at one time.
If you find that picture again, definitely post it.
I mean, obviously they didn't cut themselves in half, but you know,
just like to see what they did.
Yeah, they're just dismembered. They're bleeding on the con floor. Hey guys, check out my cosplay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't have much longer, but look at this cosplay. Like I was just thinking of like Cosmos version 2, and remember that you used to see like the I'm thinking of like the sand that had glitter in it that you pour into bottles or something. Yeah. I swear I'm going somewhere with this. Well, there was like I remember seeing like a jelly-ish version of that, and I could just imagine somebody wearing like a thin layer of like see-through material with like that stuff in between to look like that blue glowy shit in Cosmos V2.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It would be like impossible. It was just like a thought that went through my head.
That's so funny.
I'm just wearing a see-through liquid holding suit full of like Mountain Dew voltage to look like this version of Cosmos, you know.
I think my new version of Cosmos that I like the most is probably Xenoblade 2 version, because it's like the OG one, but like with more detail. I'm just like, I'm just in love with it. But like, I have something for the OG helmet. I swear. I think that's my weakness.
That's fair.
I really love the OG helmet. That's like super huge with a big visor. It's
it's great. Yeah.
Have you thought of like making or doing like the archetype Cosmos?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oversized Gundam skeleton.
It could be funny, but I don't know how I would twist my head backward.
Oh well, don't do that.
Well, how do you think people cosplay from The Exorcist, HK?
Even then, like, I'm getting older, I don't know if I could do these poses. It's just like...
If you JoJo hard enough, you can.
JoJo, yeah, I should practice with JoJo poses. Yeah, that should be the secret of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say again, I think the best cosplay I saw at age 10, I think a woman at Balticon was in her 50s and she had made this dress out of feathers and she rocked it. So,
God, that must have been so much work, but that sounds amazing. Like, I imagine the amount of work of just gluing like the feathers one by one, and I'm just like, that sounds like a lot of pain.
Yeah, and she was kind of a big lady, but she rocked it. So
let's go.
Every body type is cosplay ready.
Yeah, I know. Like, I know it's just a me problem with that particular one, because, like, I love Coast was so much, like, I want it to be as perfect as I can imagine it, but as, you know, like, but I know that it's just dumb. I should just do it whenever I have a bit more crafting experience.
You can always add on.
I'm gonna start with Laura, and then we'll see for making full body things.
You can always add on. We've seen those.
Yeah. I could do a mix of both.
I think one of the first years I think the first year I came down to visit you and I saw, like, we went to that con there, Otakuthon, you know, and I saw like the big Gundam dude that was like 15 foot tall versus the guy in like the Gears of War looking. It wasn't Gears of War, but it looked kind of similar to that, and they were both like 15 feet tall or some crap like that. I'm like, yeah, you can kind of cosplay anything if you really want to, I guess.
Exactly.
Man, I see like some of those like crazy Gundam cosplayers, and I'm just like
so big.
More than just
I see those, I'm like, whoa.
More than just how did they make this? How did they bring that into the con center? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
Broken down like a Gundam plot.
I've seen at Anime North, there was this like 20-foot dragon, and they literally got 2 U-Hauls to bring it in. Like, we saw them unloading it from the U-Haul and loading, like, taking it out, putting it on, and loading it back up. And my brother and I are like, "What in the? That's dedication."
Yeah, that's the crazy part about cosplay to me. Like with those specifically, it's like I could definitely believe somebody can make it. It's another thing to travel with that and bring it to the con hall without it like breaking and everything.
You know, my other question about these people who make these insane big cosplays is, where the hell do you like store that shit?
Exactly. Didn't we ask? Like our friend that was there this year and was doing like the Piek from Attack on Titan cosplay. Remember we ran into them in the lobby and they had like it was the crawling Titan and it was like it had wheels and crap on it. We're like, how did you get this in here? Like, remember that?
Yeah, we had like our
and she was like, "This is my cousin." I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, our con center doesn't really have big doors. It has like regular doors. So we're just looking at the thing and we're like, how did you fit it in?
How did the Genshin Impact Rune Guard get in there? Like, they were in 3 pieces too, I think.
But I think the Rune Guard does break down in multiple pieces.
I saw them break it down, yeah.
Yeah, so I think in their case it's a bit easier to bring, but I think the other girl, like, I think her big Titan thing, like, was just all one piece. Like, do they put it sideways and just try and fit it through the door?
Yeah.
It had wheels on it at least, but there's a lot of stairs around there, so I don't know.
Yeah, and like, how much room is that taking into a hotel room, too?
Yeah, that's another thing. But I think in their case, they were living in the city, so I think they maybe they brought it with a trailer or something.
Yeah, they were fairly local there.
But yeah,
that's always something I think about whenever I see like the really, really elaborate ones that are just like huge and they have like all these crazy wings and movable parts.
Sometimes I think to myself, like, man, like, if like If I had more space, I think I would be crazy enough to try and make a big mecha cosplay, but I'm just like, I don't have space, Joe.
There's at least a few of mine that I definitely want to like bring up to Canada with me next time I visit, and I'm just thinking in terms of, okay, so when I make this prop, it's got to be able to break down into this so it fits in luggage, otherwise I'm just not going to be able to do it.
That's something that in my early prep, whenever I started doing early prep things, like I did not think about that, and then I look at them and I'm just like, yeah, I can't bring that cosplay anywhere. At least I can't bring the prop with me because it's too big. So now I try to think a bit more smart about whenever I make the cosplay props, especially the kinds that are like long sticks or whatever. Because like you want it to fit in the car or whatever whenever you travel, or in your case in a suitcase.
So I have a question for the group, which is actually going to bring us into our next topic, which is like, you know, techniques and styles for cosplay. But I'm curious, is there a particular material or object that you use for cosplays that you're like watching like a hawk? So I'm gonna give an example. One thing that Mega Man cosplayers tend to do is they love the day after Easter, and the reason why is because B knows where I'm going with this.
Yes.
So
I have
that's actually quite smart, actually.
Yeah, it's very clever. So the reason Mega Man cosplayers love the day after Easter is because you can buy those giant Easter eggs, and you can get them really cheap that day, and then those are very, very easy way to make defeat for a lot of Mega Man cosplays.
So smart.
Oh my gosh.
That's so smart.
So
That's funny.
It's also very funny because if you go to like a Mega Man cosplayer event, you can tell when they're walking because you can just hear the clacking.
I'm gonna tag on it. I made a Mega Man cosplay once. And I didn't know that, so that's genius. Is I used like foam and I glued sheets of foam together, and it made such a mess of the house. And it was so hard to walk, and every time I banged into a corner, it like got destroyed. Don't use foam. But that's going on the back burner. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, is there a particular like item or accessory or even just something that like whenever you hear there's a sale, you're on it?
I got one. So I dabble in a lot of different ones. So the thing for me is chainmail. Like I can do chainmail. Long story short, that's how I damaged my elbows, but that's another story entirely. Don't take breaks. People take breaks. So whenever I see chainmail, I need to know if it's real. Because you can 3D print chainmail, you can make it like foam chainmail, but I'm looking for the real deal. And if you can hear that sound, like it's such a unique sound that I know that it's real chainmail. So I'll come running up to the person, I'm like, hey, how long did it take you to make that? How heavy is it? What material did you use? You know, and
my gosh.
Like, where'd you buy it? Like, yeah, I need to know how they made it because like I've been there. One of my cosplays is a 55-pound scale mail Gyarados.
Wow.
Let's not talk about that. But it has such this distinct sound. Like a cowbell has a distinct sound, so chainmail has this distinct sound. So as soon as I see chainmail and I run up and I'm like, did you make that? And they made it. I'm like, real deal, right here. No shortcuts. I bow, grovel at your feet. So yeah, that's me.
I've seen people use rings for that. I have a friend who actually, he doesn't as much anymore because he's kind of busy with just life. But he's into like DAG, like the thing where it's like LARPing, except for
LARPers typically do.
It's like the actual like you fight. It's more focused on the fighting thing, and like he made some chainmail at least once, I know, but it's been a long time.
It is. It's like nerd knitting. It's if you can understand crocheting and knitting. Sorry, it's very similar to that. The only thing is go for aluminum and have the right pliers. Like that's all you need to do.
I'm going to segue really briefly off that and say that I one time at a talkathon saw a fully crocheted shulk, and it was amazing.
Oh yeah, I know that cosplayer. Like, well, I know by like just following them and stuff. Yeah. But like, I do love what they do. They do everything in crochet. It's so fun.
It was
so
insane.
fun.
It was
to
really
see.
Nice.
Yeah, Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, I honestly crochet and like anything wool like is something I have yet to explore, and I would love to explore it as well
Oh, it's knit
because I think
one pearl too,
it
baby.
looks fun. It looks very fun.
I learned once and I forgot. I don't.
As for like coming back to things that we picked up, usually I will be more the type of person to go and buy the raw materials and but I will sometimes go to places like dollar store or whatever to see if there's something that has like the shape I'm looking for. Because sometimes like if you find the basic shape and you just have to modify it a bit, it saves you some work. But I know one thing that I did use before is whenever I cosplayed Link, I did buy some Christmas little Christmas ornament, and like I basically painted blue. I was like, here, that's my bombs.
No, no,
It
it's
works.
smart. Like, those ornaments that you could take a half, like put a half and put together.
Yeah.
That you'd see at Christmas. Like, that's great for if you paint the inside for Pokeballs. Like, I've done that.
Yeah, it is.
I've even done those. Like, I did like a I call them Lord Zapdos. It's like a Zapdos with a giant ass sword, and I use like those glass or not glass, those plastic orbs. Like you take a half and I painted eyeballs. Like those are fantastic for like circular things.
Yeah, they are.
Hey, so Reyne, Clarissa, what materials do you like working with?
Oh, I don't have a specific item that I kind of like eye and wait to go on sale. But I've definitely worked with there was some talk about those Christmas ornaments. I was actually thinking about how for my Mallows cosplay, I made the little orb that he took in Torna. I made that.
Cool.
I just had like a clear one and put like some blue LEDs in there. I used that for that little prop. But I mainly look out for foam, like EVA foam. And if like fairly recently I've been doing more 3D printed stuff, so
yeah,
I'll sort of keep an eye out on different types of film that I might be interested in to see if I can get a good deal on that somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm also on the 3D print bandwagon.
I am not yet, but I have friends who have 3D machines.
I have a 3D machine and I love it so much.
I'm heavily considering one right now.
Do it. If you need any questions or answers or comments, I can help you with that with 3D printing.
I got a few friends, but you're included in those, so I'll ask
excellent.
if be.
Yeah, I switched to a lot of 3D. Like I said before, my hands are giving out. I have severe tendonitis, so I do a lot of 3D printing. But I usually try to look at raw materials. So, like I've used burlap before. I like to do resin work right now. And for this next cosplay that I'm working on, I'm going to be using sewable, washable LEDs. So that I'm excited about that.
Wow. I have to look into that.
Yeah, so you can get.
Okay, as well.
Okay, I'm going to dump some knowledge on you and the listeners out there. Ardria Fruit, I believe, is the company that does sewable LEDs, so they're really small. You can also get sewable thread, which is nano-coated with silver plated, so that it is, conductive. And you can sew these. They're like the size of a penny. And you sew these on however you want in a circuit or series, and you can connect them to like a coin battery or whatnot, and it works just like any LEDs. And you can throw it in the wash, obviously take the battery out, and you can wash and wear, just gentle wash by hand or whatnot, and it can go again. So I haven't sewn them yet. I just got my package last week, but it looks very straightforward, very simple, very reasonably cost, and looks like a lot of fun. So if you want to add,
that sounds a lot more simple than a lot of other solutions out there, so I'll definitely keep an eye on.
Honestly,
yeah, it's super easy. It looks super easy. Like even I can do it, and I'm not so good at circuitry. So it's if you're looking at them, Art of Fruit has one. I'll have to link what these that
I
got hard.
Please drop us a link because that would be great for like show notes.
I will drop a link to some of these. They're called nanopixels. Yeah, I'll do that.
I want to become a Christmas tree, but like basically a cosplay tree of light.
I will right now go look at what they are, but it looks idiot proof.
That would honestly help my next cosplay a lot, potentially.
Yeah. So the conductive thread, the LEDs, the coin battery. If you want to go fancy, you can get a controller so you can change the lights if you want to, if you get specific LEDs. Washable, easy to wear, easy to sew, done.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Have you learned, not to go too far off topic, I'm just curious, have you like learned any of like the actual like LED programming?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I can do a little bit of Arduino with some of that.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
just not brave enough yet to put that in just yet. We're starting small.
I've looked into it a bit. I never got super deep into it, so I wondered.
I will link up some links for everyone.
Nice. Yes, I'll be sure to put it in the show notes as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
While I'm at it, has anyone else here messed a lot with like the LED stuff?
I mean, I've used EL wire before in some things.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but not LED.
I was just curious.
I think a friend had done a circuitry with one light attached to a circuit to batteries, like that was very rustic with duct tape and electric tape and other things like that, and like it was like Jazeho from the Gray Man, like he has this little fish light above his head. Well, we did something like that with super cheap material, and it was really funny. Like, my friend did that thing, though. Like, I did not do it because I had no idea how to do this. But it was really funny.
I feel like with a lot of prospective, like, Xenoblade 2 designs especially, it might be very helpful to learn some LED stuff.
Honestly, if I will say this, if I was to do Cosmos, I want to do it with LED and nothing else, so I will suffer.
Hopefully, I will have enough knowledge to share my knowledge about LEDs with everyone. Like
Cosmos especially is like hardcore, especially if you're going with Xenoblade 2.
That's my plan with the Monado, is to use a controller to make the center with strip LEDs to make it change different colors.
I think now that I think about it, if I was to have an intro to LED, I think the best spot would probably be whenever I do the Queen Malia, like if I do our staff thingy, like doing the LEDs on that could be fun.
Yeah, that would be.
That could be a good intro.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Reyne? What are some things you like to work with?
I'm really a foam guy, just because it's very inexpensive and very forgiving. So I feel like if you mess up with foam, like it's really easy to correct, whether by just cutting a new piece and gluing it on or sanding it away. So I think it's just a very beginner-friendly material that over the years I have come to master. So now I stick with it because like I really know my way around it. In terms of newer or more unconventional stuff, I've started experimenting more with the smooth-on products, like their casting materials and their on my current prop I'm working on, I've used their freeform air clay, which it's a 2-part epoxy clay. So you take like half and half.
Chat with you.
Mix them together. And like when you're putting it on, it's super soft and easy to work with, but it dries hard as rock. So
that sounds interesting.
Well, I mean,
very interesting.
It's super lightweight as well. Like it's the same weight as the foam.
I was gonna say someone with experience with like epoxy for different things, because my dad makes a lot of cabinets and I used to help him. Like I could see that working really well, so I get that. Polyurethane, epoxy, really good shit.
Smooth-On has a really impressive line of materials. Like they're only the border to getting into that is they are on the pricier end, so they're not quite as accessible.
Yeah, and I think epoxy is always expensive.
They
Does that one put off toxic fumes, by the way?
Most of them do to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, it's epoxy, so... it's a valid question. What are you laughing at?
No, it is. I just thought it was kind of funny.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, as someone who's worked with this stuff, like, a little bit before, I'm just like... just disclaimer, like, if you do this, realize...
They are all professional grade materials intended to be used by professionals. So, like, I'm a professional prop maker.
Yeah.
I make props for Universal and Disney World.
Oh, wow.
So that's the materials we are using for these props that are intended to last 20 years. So, like, they definitely work.
Yeah.
But they are on the pricier end.
I've always wanted to kind of, like, dabble in that more, but yes, they're kind of pricey, and I'm not the I don't have the most money right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
the store that is their distributor, Reynolds Advanced Materials, they don't have too many locations, but they have like enough locations for most people to be able to get to one. They will do classes at their store that anyone can sign up for, and they'll teach you how to use their materials.
Can you order any of that stuff online?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Good to know, because I'm in one of those places where a lot of that stuff does not reach. So, you know, just out of curiosity, because I've not heard of like the form you're talking about. I'm like, that is very interesting.
Yeah, if you are able to make it out to one of their stores, they have like physical samples of every single material they offer, so you can touch them and see examples of how they've been used and take them home with you too. So you can decide like what's best for your project.
So cool. Sadly, I'm pretty sure there's none in Canada.
Yeah, I know they have one in close to Detroit, Michigan, and they have one in Orlando, Florida.
Well, let's see. I mean, do we want to go into how much these cosplays have cost us over time, or do we want to keep that to ourselves?
Well, you know, you get past a certain threshold, and as long as you're doing this steadily over time, you stop caring to a degree.
Shall I break the ice with my scale mail one?
But hey, remember that app I mentioned, Cosplanner? So you can put prices in there, and it really helps you keep track of it. But, you know, sometimes I just kind of, like, forget about that part. We don't have to pay attention.
Oh my god.
I lost track how much some of them costed. Margie is one of them because I've done her over such a long period of time, and I've restarted the Risen Stone so many times on some of them that I'm just like, yeah, her price is probably higher just because I worked with resin.
Depending on the amount of work you want to do, you can get off very cheap. I will say that much. And it also depends on what you're doing. If you go really ambitious, like I've made some pretty ambitious things for me for under $150 USD. You know, but
honestly, it depends on the costume and what type of materials you go for. Like, materials is a big thing.
Especially if you're like doing just all sewing and it's just a cloth thing, you can get off pretty cheap a lot of times, honestly. And
again, it depends.
There are definitely some pretty expensive materials, but if you're doing like say
if it's something more simple, yes.
Yeah, more simple thing, and you just want to sew all the parts, you know, you can get off fairly cheap. The more you do yourself, the cheaper it gets. But that doesn't mean it's going to be super cheap.
No. So most of my cosplays do go over $100. That's because I'm very fussy with materials. But my example of the most expensive one is the Gyarados with the scale mail, just because it's such a unique product. So I needed jump rings and scales. I ordered those. I'll link to that too. Best supply, wholesale supply for jump rings. I spent over $1,500 on all those materials, and it didn't help that it was the U.S. exchange rate too.
Ouch. Oh, yikes!
Yeah,
but I just wanted to prove myself that I could do it, and I did it, and it hurt the wallet and my wrists and my elbows, but it was done. It's shiny, beautiful, and heavy. I will link to, it's called the Ring Lord, is where you can get that. I'll send a link to that too.
Nice.
Were you going to say something earlier, Reyne?
What?
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I guess my thought would be that, like, an impressive cosplay doesn't automatically equal a lot of money.
Yeah.
But a lot of money can also go a long way to making an impressive cosplay. because better or higher quality, whether it's fabrics or if it's like you want to do resin casting or certain materials just cost money, like the scales.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of ways to take the cost down by going to like thrift shops, but like if you want your costume to be made out of silk, it's just gonna cost more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who has made recently the Mononoke costume, but like not Princess Mononoke, the other Mononoke,
No, the
the
medicine
very
vendor.
fancy,
Yeah,
the very like fancy kimono with a billion colors. And she went all out on her materials and bought like all of those very fancy silk with a bunch of like redone patterns on them.
it was amazing.
And like I was looking at the bill going up, I was like, "Oh my god!"
And if you want more
But
reference,
it
it's on
looks
Netflix.
fantastic though. Like there's a lot of
That
texture
show.
on that cosplay, but I'm like, "Oof!" The price tag of that cosplay though. I was there while she was shopping.
Yikes.
So it's like it really depends on what final
Yeah, it really
look that you
depends.
want for your costume. Like
Yeah,
if the
exactly.
materials are really important to you, then be prepared to invest.
Yeah, for sure. But
'Cause
yeah, like
it is an
price,
investment. It's not a sinkhole.
yeah, price can vary a lot depending on what type of material and texture you want, and yeah, it can just vary a lot. Like I have some cosplays that were much cheaper either because I had some thrift parts or other things like that, but some others are like I had like materials that costed a bit more and like went easily over the 200 or $300.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it's sometimes it just goes up, but I think it goes up even more the moment you enter the territory of props and other things like that, especially if you don't necessarily have like all the paints ready or whatever, like, and you need specific things, like it can go up so easily.
I think the cosplay that cost me under, I only have one that cost me under $100. And that was my Skull Kid, just because the materials choice, just because I wanted the look of it rugged in the forest, find what you can clothing. I chose burlap, and burlap is very cheap. So I think that cosplay cost me maybe $70. I mean, a lot of like the mask and the belts and the details were all 3D printed, and foam work, but otherwise, yeah, it was very cheap.
Skull Kid's
That's
like
pretty
a good
cool.
example of that too, because you could potentially make his actual clothing from like potato sacks or something. I feel
Yeah,
like
that's what I did. It's all
yeah,
burlap.
it's just like that
burlap.
kind of thing. Yeah, because those are burlap sacks. Yeah,
Which is awesome.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
You saw it in person, didn't you, Marie?
Yeah, I did. Though very briefly, because I was just dropping something off and left. I didn't see it.
It's always fun when you get creative with just like common items like that. That's why I am a huge fan of closet cosplay, because like I feel like that opens the door for a lot of creativity.
Yeah, like I have a friend.
Scuba.
I have another friend that made like a lot of her cosplay from just going to thrift stores, but I think she also has like crazy luck. Like at some point she did, what's the name of that anime? Oh man, I have a blank. But anyways,
do you know the character?
Oh, okay. Hold on. The name of the character came back to me. Meliodas, from whatever anime
Seven
that's
Deadly
popular.
Sins, yeah.
There you go. Like she found a bag that was almost the exact same shape in the thrift store. I was just like, and the exact color. She just had to modify it slightly, and I was just like, how the heck do you have this luck? Like, it's just so funny. Like, she always finds a bunch of things in thrift stores that, like, whenever, if I go and search for something, I feel like I don't find it unless I'm looking for something else. It's so funny. But anyways, it's just cool whenever people can make things like full on cosplay just out of thrift store things that are modified. You know, just pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, some other cosplays are harder to do this way because like the details are too specific. But whenever it's more casual, let's say hitting thrift stores first is always a good idea. Yeah. All right. So, did Did we want to go to something else? I think Proudest Work,
Yeah,
we
that's a
did
good
cover
one.
that a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, here's I guess we could go over this a little briefly. So, for like time commitment, are you guys like a last minute kind of person, or do you, take more time when it comes to planning out and building your cosplays?
Which phase?
What will happen is I will start planning out months in advance, and then shit happens, and I'm running last minute. But my new rule is that I no longer do that. If it's not ready, I just don't wear it. Period. Like, I'm too old for this shit. So yeah, I don't do that anymore, or I try not to. It's not good. Don't stay up till 3 a.m. before the con, guys. Not a good
Too
idea.
old for this.
Don't stay up till 2 a.m. during the whole con still trying to finish your cosplay for the other day. No. I did that a couple times.
No.
Sleep at a con? What's that?
I feel time is the true cost of a costume.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
it's so easy to underestimate it as well.
Yeah, it happens all the time too, because sometimes you get into something that's so new that you kind of estimate being X amount of hours, and then the con is approaching and you're like, I only did half of it, and the other half is really not there yet. Well, shit. Time to not sleep. But it's often what happens, really. It's just like, it's also difficult to plan around regular life time and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, like, life happens, and sometimes you want to put in X amount of hour that week, but it didn't happen because XYZ happened in your life, and it's just like, oh god. And that is why a lot of cosplayers end up like rushing last minute. It's just life happens, really.
Yeah,
Well,
you think you have enough time, and then you get to that point, and you're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I have kind of the opposite. So I start well in advance. Like, the one that I'm working on now isn't due until February.
Yeah.
So I start like in advance, but I get into like a rut where I'm like, okay, I've been working on this for so long. I can't look at this anymore. I need to put it away, and I won't get back to it for like a month later.
Yeah.
So I get kind of that effect. Like the Queen Nia one that from last year, like I started early, and then I got looking at like, how am I going to do the belt? How am I going to do the headpiece? And I got like overwhelmed myself. So I put it away for like 2 months, and then I'm like, oh crap, Anime North is coming up. I better pick this up and work on it.
Yeah.
How about you, Clarissa?
So there were a few moments where there was mention of the cosplay being like half done. My most recent Xeno cosplay was Tyon, and I basically wore him half done to the con that I had planned to like compete him in, and it was an experience.
Very relatable.
Yeah, so
very
like,
relatable. Yes, and it's also very valid to wear an incomplete cosplay. Like, I do that nowadays. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I kind of planned. I made it work because, like, if you haven't played Xenoblade 3, the characters can kind of like their outfits kind of change depending on their location. So, like, his camp outfit, he didn't have on his little like white jacket, so he just had on the like gray hoodie sort of deal. So I wore that, and I had the pants and everything else done. So I'm like, yeah, this is my cosplay, and it ended up working out. But I try my best to have adequate buffer room to make sure I'm not crunching too bad, because it's beginning to become taxing. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, honestly, it's for the best to try not crunch nearly as much. Like, I've learned it the really bad way. Like, I had to go through it multiple times to understand that, girl, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Somebody was
Your
like,
body cannot keep up anymore.
Somebody was like, Wait, I don't remember a scarf being made of toilet paper in game, and I'm like, did we even play the same game?
We're just too old.
Yeah, we're getting too old in our case. It's just like we don't have the same energy levels, and sometimes I look at past me. I'm like, how the hell did I go? Did I do this back in the day?
How did I stay up that late to work on this?
Like nowadays, if I did the same thing, I would be like basically like a dead zombie at the con. While back then, I could like barely sleep, and I would still be like full of energy at the con, and just like continue on for the whole weekend this way.
Moral of the story is getting old sucks.
Yes.
And take care of yourself.
Also,
especially while you're young.
Reyne, did you have anything more on this yourself?
I personally like to allot 3 months before an event, just so that I have enough time to be like thinking about all the steps. But saying that, I work better when the event is much closer because I have that pressure.
Yeah,
it's
it's so
finding
easy
that
to
balance.
procrastinate.
Finding the balance of not crunching while not being like too far out that I'm not doing anything is my eternal struggle.
Same.
Yeah, it is. Like, it really is hard to commit. Like, for me, like, I'm also very slow at working. Like, sometimes I just won't have the spoon to work on this stuff. So, like, even if I plan months in advance, often, like, I'll get that panic last minute because I'll just be like, well, I really did not advance fast enough. Well, screw that. I guess I'm gonna wear like half of the cosplay and YOLO. But yeah, it just happens sometimes. Like back in the day, I think I would have killed myself to try and finish a cosplay, but nowadays I'd just be like, I'll wear what I have, and if I don't have enough to wear it, well, next time.
I have a question for our guests, if that's cool to jump in. It's it's not on the script, but is that cool?
Yeah, sure, go.
Yeah. So where this question's coming thanks. Where this question's coming from is I don't feel good enough to like compete or anything like that. I have, which is fine, but I'm always really down on myself. So have either Reyne or Clarissa, you compete in like masquerades, workmanship competitions, and if so, like what tips can you bring to someone who's not so comfortable doing that?
Oh, absolutely. I think contests are one of my favorite things about cosplaying. Not because of like being on stage or trying to win anything, but just like being in the backstage room with like all these other cosplayers who are just as passionate as you about crafting and their characters and just this hobby in general. I think that's what's really important to focus on, is making those connections with like-minded people. So like don't think of it as, oh, I'm so nervous, I don't know if I'm not good enough. Just think of it as like, oh, I'm here to have fun and meet all these amazing people and learn from them, and maybe I'll win, and maybe I'll learn a cool technique that could help me win next time.
Yeah, that's a good way to see it. I think I only competed like once just for the fun of seeing how it was, but I never went back because it was like a time sink in the Saturday.
Yeah,
it's a big time sink.
Yeah.
It is, because you're just sitting around in the green room. But yeah,
I would like to try it again though at some point.
For the few that I've done maybe a good 5 or 6. Yeah, I do enjoy talking to the people backstage. Being like, oh, how did you make that? That's really cool. What material did you use?
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable being on like say an Anime North stage yet, or I've done one international competition, but yeah, I don't know.
Because I think Anime North is still considered international level because I think the International Guild is still part of it, but I'm not entirely sure.
They are part of the International Guild. The disclaimer: the only one that I've done that's international is Costume Con. That's a traveling convention.
Yeah,
and I did win 2 awards from that.
Nice.
But like, I just don't feel comfortable enough. If that makes any sense.
This makes me sad.
I know it got skills, but
This makes me sad because like CostumeCon almost came to my city, but then whenever
COVID happened.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
gosh,
happened
I
and
almost
it got
paid for that.
canceled. Yeah, it got canceled
If
and
anyone has the opportunity to go to CostumeCon and you're interested in cosplay at all, go. It was life-changing for me.
Yeah, like I've heard of this con nonstop. I really want to try it, but the problem is that it travels, and I don't know many people who go to like that specific con that travels all around. It needs to come back to Canada for me to have a chance.
Clarissa, do you have any tips or tricks for?
Yeah, so I actually I was kind of in a similar boat as you. I feel like I haven't really been like huge into competing until like fairly recently, and still I'm really laid back about it. I kind of go in thinking, well, I made this cosplay that I'm really proud of, and I'd love to like show off my work. You don't really have anything to lose. I mean, aside from time, but there are a lot of options available to you depending on the con to like how you can compete. I tend to compete in like haul contests if they're available because they're a bit less time intensive, I've noticed, and they're a little bit less like pressure, like if you're nervous about going on stage, and you still get the like in-depth kind of look at your work and you can show that off to the judges, but there's no pressure about like having to walk on stage or like act or anything. So like if you're like a bit more reserved in that respect, like definitely like see if you can find like haul contests or I think like some craftsmanship ones. I don't know like if you always have to walk, but I think the craftsmanship ones there's less focus on the acting portion. Or the performing portion, I should say.
I think it'd be fun for me to do like one time.
Yeah, I think even places like Animator, I think there are some emphasis on performing, but I think they do have a bigger emphasis on the crafting and the workmanship.
Yeah, I'll admit, like, the nervous part for me is the acting. I mean, the entry I did
you could always just do a walk-in, really. Just
you can play the acting in your favor. Acting. Yeah.
But I think I need, like, something for me to do. Like, the one I did at CostumeCon, I basically spoofed a commercial that was going around here in the 90s in Canada. So that one, I was like, oh, that's easy for me to do. But, like, if I were to say, like, my Queen Nia or whatnot, if I were to do that in a masquerade, I wouldn't know what to do for the performance-wise. And that's where I have a hard time.
How elaborate of a performance?
Lightly reenact the trailer. There you go.
Well, I was going to say, how much do you have to act in these events?
You don't necessarily need to. You can just do a walk-on and just, like, show front, back, and whatever, and just walk off.
I think it depends on the competition as well, but it fits into a certain time slot, and there may be a minimum and maximum amount of time depending on what.
Yeah, usually it's up to a minute or so.
I'll see if I can find my example of costume con.
Because I'm like,
no, we at time.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. I do.
Okay. Right. well, thank you for joining us. For this, I really appreciate your insight, and you guys have really awesome cosplays.
Yes.
Reyne and
Thanks
Clarissa.
so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Always welcome here.
Yeah. If you ever want to come back, please do.
Yeah, feel free to come on for any topic you would like to talk about on here. And also,
somewhere in our pins we have some subject of Xeno whatever plans we have. Like, that is a ginormous list. If you ever feel like coming into any of these, just put your name down and we'll ping you.
Fantastic.
Also, don't feel like you have to wait your turn. You can just speak up whenever, and we'll we'll give way.
It's whatever.
We value everybody's opinion. We interrupt each other all the time. It's cool.
Well, it's not always cool, but anyway,
we try.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Guys.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye. Okay, I guess we could kind of wind down. I guess one of the things we could go over is just like tips and tricks for cosplay in general.
That sounds good.
I'm also gonna ollie out because I have a raid strat for a separate raid that I'm in that they're not in. It's a study.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for joining,
Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
Love
Bye.
you.
Love you too.
Bye. Okay, so who wants to go into some tips and tricks?
I would love to go into some tips and tricks because I fall into the pitfalls of some of these, and so I put them on as tips and tricks.
Okay.
So, if possible, have pockets. Incorporate some way for you to hold your crap because you're going to be... It's like, where is my phone going? Where's my watch going? Where's my wallet?
Oh,
where is
God,
that
yes.
wallet?
Yeah.
Pockets.
So I don't...
My favorite part about Margie cosplay is that I have 4 pockets.
Nice.
See, that's an ideal one.
Jen?
I've fallen into a rut where I'm like, no pockets? What? Why did I do that to myself again? Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say, because for one of the few, I've done like 3 Xeno cosplays, but one of them I've actually worn at a con, and that was Alan, and I bought that online, but the Vector uniform does not have pockets, so that was a problem.
Online bot cosplays rarely have pockets, or if they do,
or they have tiny ones.
They the more casual outfit will often have, but like anything weird like what you bought, like will often not have pockets at all. It's just like, well, that sucks.
Yeah, so the second time I wore it, I wore a fanny pack to the convention, so it was Alan with a fanny pack, which that fits Alan. So
I would see Alan with a fanny pack.
Yeah,
it's good to have a little, like, if you don't have pockets, definitely like have a little bag with you. Mm-hmm. But I do know that like sometimes that can be a pain in the ass if like someone's asking for pictures, you gotta always take it off and all that. And if possible, try to, especially if you're making it, try to put pockets on. Because otherwise you're going to need a bag, or you're going to have to bug one of your friends and treat them as a pack mule for you. And I don't know.
Which I have done in the past.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody's willing to do that.
I have done before multiple times, or sometimes my friends who have either like more casual cosplays or like whatever, they'll look at me like struggling to carry my things, and they'll just be like, "Let me carry this for you." I'm like, thank you.
On a related note to the pack mule, like I'm a big fan of wearing masks. So if you can have a buddy to like help you walk from different ways, and get through the traffic, that's kind of beneficial. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think some conventions actually have it in their policy. You'll just have to check your local convention that if you are wearing like something that your sight is obstructed, you have to have a buddy or someone with you whose sight is not obstructed, as kind of like your tag-along person.
If you're a character with a cape, just take a backpack. You can put it underneath it.
Yep.
Again, it depends
one of those
on what type
bags.
Of cape and how it's attached.
If it's like a cloak,
costume,
I mean.
But
if it's like a cloak,
it's just sometimes it depends on the attachment. Like it could be a bit harder to fit the straps of the bag.
I will say this. Those drawstring bags are really nice for that. For for conventions, drawstring bags are amazing.
Also with some of your cosplays, if you're designing, how you can use the bathroom easily.
Oh boy! Yeah.
You know what?
I am laughing very hard at this one because
So okay, this is easier for guys than girls. I get it. But, as much as it's like, oh yeah, the Bart cosplay, you just wore normal pants and then you had like these little sleeves that went over it. I thought that'd make it easier. No, it actually didn't. It was actually harder to use the bathroom with that one.
With my 55-pound scale male Gyarados, this is a cosplay you should never do.
Yeah.
I'd have to, I thought about it, so I made it so that each side were connected by, those backpack clips, whatever they're called. So I thought, okay, that's easy enough. I can unclip that, go use the washroom. And then the hardest part was because I was sweaty, it got stuck to my own body. So I'm like, oh God, I need someone to hold my tail.
I will say the Sheikah
Oh
Link
my god,
being
that
a
sounds
body...
like a horror story.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I will say the Sheikah Link wearing the bodysuit was way harder to use the bathroom.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I had to take half the
yeah.
bodysuit off. That's honestly part of the reason the albedo ended up being like separate shirt and pants. Like, it was partially like
helps.
the design, and
it
also
helps.
I was like, no, if I can make this basically like a bodysuit but separate shirt and pants, I will absolutely do it, because that was a nightmare.
How you pee.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for folks wearing bodysuits, I think about that too. I'm like, I wonder if like people plan how much water they're drinking beforehand.
I can insert that if you want.
Go for it.
So basically, I had a couple of cosplays that had this issue. One of them that I wore multiple times was Attack on Titan cosplay with the harness.
Oh no!
Going to the bathroom with the harness is impossible. You have to remove the harness, but if you remove the harness, you're stuck 40 minutes putting it back on because it's complicated.
I have an answer to this as well, but go on.
Let her finish.
But basically, what I do is that I drink a little bit of... I think what I usually do if I really want to keep myself hydrated without drinking too much is I'll get some Powerade and I'll drink little sips here and there, but very far in between during the day, because like I just don't want to die, but I also don't want to go pee.
I'm too old to get dehydrated, so I try to make things as easy as possible because like I like to use masks. For my Skull Kid mask, I used one of those, thanks to COVID, you know those COVID shield visor things? I used the top part and velcroed that to my Skull Kid mask, so that was really easy to take water from. And again, like with the Skull Kid, I just put a drawstring in the pants, be like, oh, there, I can go now. So make it as easy as possible.
And I would say this Margie is also one that's a bit difficult to go to the bathroom with, because like she has so many layers, and the way I made my belt, it's not exactly the most friendly thing to remove. So I need to kind of slide the overall underneath the belt to go.
I will say...
So, it's like very hard, and like with the cape on top and everything, it's just like, oh god, there's too many shit on me.
I will say this: if you're making especially if you're doing like a bodysuit, if you do make it yourself, especially, always go with those invisible zippers, because those are very helpful in many ways. But I was also going to say the answer to the bathroom question. I think that like HK knows this very well too. Marie knows this very well too. When do you have time to drink at a con? Honestly, like, think about it. When are you going to actually drink that?
I need to actually remind myself that I need.
Yeah, we have to remind
because I'm running everywhere.
Be sure to stay hydrated in cons.
I always make time for it.
I do know the signs though, so like if I feel like like my body is starting to send signals, like I go straight to like a convenience store, I get some Powerade, and I drink a bunch.
But yeah, if you're making that much yourself, I would say like be sure to try and at least put some like really like think about it when you're making a cosplay. Like I will say this: the biggest thing that I've noticed, especially about like sewn cosplays, is make sure you have access in some way to regular bodily functions, if at all possible. Like actually planning is like one of the biggest things, especially with sewing. Like a lot of times you can, as long as you cut the pattern to plan, the sewing part comes a lot easier. It's just a matter of measuring that part out. And when you do that, don't just take into consideration the design in terms of how the character wears it. Take into consideration how you're gonna wear it. Like make sure that it fits to you.
There are definitely some patterns of characters or whatever that like will be an absolute like challenge sometimes to like try and get it to be functional. Like sometimes you have to pick between, do I make this extremely more complicated on myself on the patterning, or do I make a life sacrifice?
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely going to be those times, but Try to find a way to make it as easy as possible on yourself when you do that.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a corner.
I was gonna say, also think about how long you're gonna wear your cosplay for any given amount of time. I know there's some people out there who they will wear like as many as 5 cosplays in a given day. So
I don't know how these people.
I don't know how people do that either. But to their credit, if they're going to be switching cosplays that frequently, that probably means that they'll have a period where it's easier for them to go to the bathroom and do all that good stuff too. So think about that. Think about how long you want to wear something. Like maybe even if you're only doing one cosplay on a given day, you might not wear that costume the whole day. You could just say, okay, I'm going to have it on for like 2 to 3 hours. So maybe I could plan it. Maybe I could hold it in for those 2 to 3 hours. And then afterwards I can go to the bathroom. I can do all that.
The general time most people wear cosplay is often from the morning of the con, or whenever they get to the con, I guess. Like some people arrive a bit later, to like often like the late dinner time. So often till like 8 p.m. max, I feel like people will wear, and then they'll just go like, no, I need freedom now, and then they go eat.
Yeah, like honestly, don't torture yourself. Like if you get tired of wearing something, don't feel bad. Just go change. Like bring something to change into. Go change. Yeah. Do what you need to do for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's like you can't prioritize getting pictures with people to your own like health and safety.
Right.
Yeah.
If you really want to wear a spandex or a latex suit all day, a latex bodysuit all day long, get a colostomy bag. Just whatever you have to do. But
if you think you're not gonna drink enough
kill
water,
yourself.
if you think you're not gonna drink enough water, do get some Gatorade to have an extra boost, because that stuff can save you. It can definitely save you from dehydration, because it's like just a higher pitch of like nutrients.
And also like I'm also going to say this too, like especially if you're staying in a hotel and the hotel happens to be either attached to the convention center or very close to it, go back to the hotel. Like take advantage of that. Even if you don't get out of cosplay, just give yourself that time to stay away, because trust me, I get it. Some people are more extroverted than others, but I will say just about every single person, even the most extroverted people I know, have some limit. And you don't want to push yourself when you're at a convention, because there's a lot happening. Everybody needs a second to recover and just catch themselves.
Even if you don't have a hotel room, like often I go to cons where I don't have a hotel room, I drive. So I just sit in my car, I open up all the windows, turn on some tunes. Like when I was at Anime North, I texted Marie, I'm like, hey, I'm at my car, come visit me. Like, that's my chill zone.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. And like a lot of conventions, I know some are trying to do it, but like not a whole lot of them do this. Some conventions are trying to have like rest zones or like little quiet zones, but like
it's not quiet.
It's not exactly like, and not a lot of cons do it. I only know a couple that do it, and even then, it's like it's not enough. So definitely try to do what you can to give yourself that little zone, even if it's like B said in their car. That's good. But like, especially if you have a hotel at the convention center, take advantage of it. You're paying a lot of money for it. Use it.
Whenever I have an hotel next to the con, like I often go back just to like take a draft of the actual AC I can feel, because like that's another thing, is that in cons, even though if there's AC, because there's so many people, you don't feel it, and you get so warm in those cosplays. It's very dangerous for like a heat stroke or something. So whenever I can take break, like I'll just go back to the hotel and like I'll take a draft of the AC. If I need to readjust some parts of my cosplay, I do my bathroom break there because it's cleaner. and then like I go back. But like it still depends on the cons, because like for example, like Katsucon, since it's more local for me, like I don't have an hotel there, so like in the case of that one, I not only have to kind of enjoy my cosplay most of the entire day, pretty much, but I also like don't really have a rest spot. But what I do there is often like there are some projection rooms that are upstairs that will tend to have a bit more AC because there's often a bit less people there and like the AC is a bit stronger. So when I need a break, that's where I go. I just go in one of those rooms at a random projection and I just sit down and I'm just like, oh yes, AC. And that's how I take my break and I sit down for a bit.
The bathrooms there are there's a lot of good bathrooms there and they're pretty big for the most part, so that does help. But I will also say like the cosplay repair room is not a terrible one to go to, you know.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
That or just a room where people are watching like a screening of something.
A lot of the rooms that are like the highest level, like they're often not that like filled and like often the AC, like the way the AC is projected in those rooms, you can feel it a bit better. So
yeah,
but yeah, like you should all definitely like take advantage whenever you have an hotel next door. Like take advantage of it, go dump shit so that you don't carry stuff all day, and like go take some breaks every now and then whenever you can. Like heck, even take your takeout to the hotel to take a chill time while eating if you can. Like it's nice.
Also, if at all possible, absolutely go with friends. Like, stay in a friend group. It helps so much because.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna put
you can help each other.
I'm gonna contradict that. I like going by myself.
I mean, that's fine as long as you got a plan.
I always have a plan. I've been doing cons for over 22 years. You know, I try to make it lightweight.
The ideal is like going with friends that don't mind you being like together or separated, but it definitely like helps the experience a bit to have some company of some sort.
It helps just to have someone to rely on, you know, in case something else happens. Is what I'm saying. You know, it's not like a thing of, oh, you absolutely have to go with friends. Like, if you really want to go and you're alone, do so. That's fine. I'm just saying, like, have a backup plan in case, like,
but
you
definitely
need
helps,
something.
Because also cons are expensive. It definitely helps to go in a group of friends, especially if you need to pay an hotel and stuff. And also, if something happens, like you all got each other's back. Like you're not just alone there, stranded and not knowing what to do. Like you can all find a solution together, so it's less stressful.
I think with me that's different is I'm meeting a bunch of people there, like when I go.
Yeah, but you also drive to something that's a bit more local, but we mean more like if you were to travel further, it's always better to have
for sure
some people.
Well, that and if you're meeting people there and they're your friends, they can also help you. So
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't need to be like, oh, you gotta be with your friends 24/7 at the con. Like, it's more so like, oh, you have friends you can depend on and meet with to go have a meal or something every now and then, or between activities. Oh, you have this similar activity. Okay, let's go together. You know, just it just makes the experience a bit better because you have people you can talk to during the con, even if you're not necessarily like in the same room all the time. You can still text each other and be like, oh, hey, I'm at this place. Although Attack on this year was really rough on that because the signal was really bad. We're trying to contact our friends and we're just like, hello?
No. I will also say this. I mean,
no.
I know this is kind of becoming con survival 101, which is fine because I think it's related. I'm also going to say this. Bring a power bank or portable charger.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you pack one thing with your cosplay, make it that.
Well, that and... Well, okay, a lot of those facilities do have, like, water and, like, bathrooms, of course. Like, I don't think you can run a con without something like that. But it also doesn't hurt to bring some water or, like, something like that with you.
Yes. Yeah, like a little water bottle will do wonders. A portable battery pack is also fantastic.
I think the bottom line is just have fun. Like I said, why I cosplay is I find going to conventions, cosplay, and all that stuff is just a break in the norm. Like, you know,
it is.
My work is very public, and I'm around people all the time, pleasing other people and doing things for others. But you know, conventions is something that I do for myself. So yeah, it's just 3 days, sometimes 2 days of going to a convention, absorbing it all in, and like it's kind of like a meditation. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, it's a meditation. Like, you're just there, you're in the zone, you're in the moment, enjoying the surroundings, enjoying the costumes, enjoying cosplay, people asking about you.
Yes.
You're asking about others. Like, it's just a zen space for me. And like, it's like, I don't know, a spa retreat. That's the closest thing I can think of. It's like a spa retreat. It's you're filling in your soul with something that you really enjoy doing, losing yourself in it, and coming back recharged. Does that make sense?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it makes sense because even for
Yeah.
me, like whenever I go to
Somewhat.
cons, like it recharges me so much. Like it brings me so much joy. The only thing that sucks is when you come back and like, oh, I have to go back to that
Yeah, you have to go
real
back
life.
to your life, your
Yeah.
You have to go back to that that
real
real life
world.
stuff. That sucks.
if
I
you
want to
like-
go back to Weebland.
If you
It's-
think of any sort of like meditation is being in the space, experiencing in the now.
Yeah,
And
but
that's
it's also
what a convention
because
is.
cons, what's cool is that you don't really get judged nearly as much for the things you love because, like, you're basically in a space full of people that love the same thing that you love. So, like,
Yeah.
you're just, like, in paradise, basically.
And
Sure,
also
there are, like, fandom wars and stuff like that, but we ignore those.
Yeah.
and also let's be real, guys. Let's
Yeah.
just be completely real here. No matter
Uh-oh.
how weird you think you are, no matter how much of a loser you think you are, there was somebody at the con who will one up you.
Yes.
Unless you're the
Yes.
person that one-upped that other person, in which case, feel proud.
That's it. That do bring something about cons is that if you ever have a weirdo stalking you, whatever, just
Oh yeah.
try to go towards security or whatever, or like try to I don't
The
know,
other
like,
reason to be with friend.
yeah,
So-
it's the other reason to be with friends is just like the weirdos can definitely happen, especially if you have a cosplay that's a bit more, sexy and stuff. Do be careful. Do try to have company with you because there are a lot of creeps sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I have a con horror story. Can I share that?
Yeah,
Short.
yeah,
Sure, go ahead.
So this was at a smaller convention that no longer exists. But I was, going to that convention for like 6 years, as long as they lasted. And there was always one particular gentleman. Like I don't cosplay as anything like seductive or anything like that. I just cosplay like, I think the last one I cosplayed there was one of the nobodies from Kingdom Hearts. And this one gentleman always was like getting too friendly with me, like so much so as like brushing his hand on my shoulder or brushing it
Ew.
across my chest. Like it was very uncomfortable. It's like, hey, do you want to go have lunch? And I'm just like, I can't. So ever since then, to make myself feel more comfortable, I pick cosplays with a mask.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is brushing your hand across someone's chest just like a normal thing to some people? I've never... What?
Well, I'm not one to like physical touching unless I initiate like a hug, like I am a hugger.
I'm sorry.
No,
but,
no,
like,
I mean, that's not
it's
normal,
just like
B.
it's not normal. It's not normal. Like people should never touch you unless they have consent. Really.
But I saw this guy for 6 years at this convention every time,
Ugh.
and I just got weirded out. And like I went with my brother, who went with me, and he didn't know how to handle that, so he just kind of left me for the wind. But
I think
like if you are uncomfortable, tell them that. So
yeah,
every
you have
time,
to be direct with those kind of people.
Every time he said,
otherwise they
"Hey,
don't
do you
get
want to
it.
go for lunch?" I'll be like, "No, I already ate," or or I would go hide in the car, or like.
But I think if at this point, if it happens, like, like if it happens once with a guy, you'd be like, okay, I'll try and be polite and try and brush him off politely. But I think if it happens a second time and makes you really uneasy, I think it's important to tell them that, look, I'm not interested in whatever you're trying right now, and just leave me alone.
I would also say that
eventually
depends on
did
severity.
do that, and I
Yeah.
went as far as I talked to the staff and I said, I feel really uncomfortable with this gentleman who's here. I'm just letting you know, like, this might be happening to other people. I don't know, but this is what's happening. And the staff was really accommodating and they were great for it. But
Nice.
like, that's why I like to wear masks, is because I don't want people to necessarily know who I am. That and the mass aesthetic makes me very happy. But like, no convention should be ruined by someone else making you feel uncomfortable. It doesn't matter what they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So.
And also, folks, like this goes into a much bigger topic, and it's just quite simply. I know we're getting very soapboxy here, but it's an important thing to talk about. Yeah. Cosplay is not consent. Like
exactly.
The way it is fucked up because you hear those stories. Because listen, the story that B just said, that's the story that like you hear these kind of stories all the time, and it's because they happen. They happen very frequently. Hell, they happen even outside of conventions, but they happen, and. It's important to know cosplay is not consent. Don't respect people's boundaries, especially if the person is nice enough to be like to give you the benefit of the doubt and be like, "Hey, back off. I'm gonna go away. We're gonna pretend this didn't happen." Like, you don't have to be that nice. Like, you shouldn't have to be nice if somebody is making you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
you shouldn't. You like. Honestly, if someone's
sometimes we don't want to cause any more
right, and I understand
trouble, then like we don't want the situation to go out of hand, so we tend to try and be polite, but it's still like if we say to stop.
Yeah, because even in situations where like let's say you're giving someone a hug. And you get like you consent today. All right, I'll give you a hug, whatever. And then somebody's getting like really feely with you. Tell them, like, don't be afraid to clap back at that. It's very important to protect yourself or do what you can to protect yourself and seek out anybody who is around that can potentially help you.
I think I had some horror stories myself, but like, I think because I'm so like, I catch on to the signs very easily, and I'm more like direct on a lot of things that a lot of the times I did not let it escalate very far before I basically told the person leave me alone basically. But there was one time where I had someone a bit more persistent trying to follow me, and I was just like, oh god, please leave me alone. I was basically trying to get back to my hotel, but like before that, like the guy was I think it's when I was wearing some of my kind of more punkish clothes because I felt like it that day with a wig. It was like, I think it was a Sunday of a con or something, or maybe late Saturday was like my comfy clothes. And like, the person started talking to me like they had a crush on me, like it was very apparent. I was like, oh god, how do I turn this guy around? And like, they tried to like follow me and stuff, and I just went like, look, I'm going to join some friends. Like, could you like go somewhere else because I don't feel comfortable. And they eventually turned around, but it like they still tried to follow me to my hotel and was very like red flag. It was like, nope, you're not coming all the way to my hotel. Nope. So yeah, it's very yikes. Thankfully though, because I'm someone so straightforward, I managed to kind of handle it, and like the person did not look like they had a lot of confidence, so to speak, so they kind of like backed off whenever they saw that I was like kind of like leave me the fuck alone.
With my story, like I was very passive then.
Yeah.
I'm much stronger person now, but yeah, back then like it was I was
sometimes it's just hard, but also like there is one time that I felt uncomfortable with someone touching me, but it's just like in one of those situations that kind of surprise you because the person is excited and you did not expect it to happen. So on the spot, you don't really react. At some point I wore my Tophe at Comic-Con. You know how Tophe is popular. I was getting pictures all the time, like every 5 seconds. But at some point there was like one dude that got a bit too excited and put his like arm around my shoulders, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable at all. But like I did not have time to say anything because it was already there, and it was just like, like in retrospect, I kind of let it slide because like it was just like so surprising. But in retrospect, I'm like, I should have said something afterward and say, dude, don't do this again to anyone. It's just like don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Like, because it was not just like hand around the shoulder, like very like casually. It's like it was like kind of tightly trying to bring me toward him or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is very uncomfortable.
In the moment, it's hard to know what to do in a lot of cases. But
yeah, well, like I said, this is the kind of situation that is surprising, and I imagine it's the same with a girl that gets touched somewhere else. Like, it's just on the spur of the situation, you don't know how to react sometimes, but I think it's important to let those people know that, hey, that wasn't cool. But I think if it ever happens again to me, but I pray that it does not, I will do so, because like I was kind of sad I did not kind of catch the dude afterwards, say, hey, don't do that again. It's just not cool.
This seems like something that should be fairly self-explanatory in a lot of ways, but remember, there are a lot of people who go to these who aren't necessarily, like, don't typically get out in public a whole lot either, and they don't always catch on to social cues, so keep that in mind. Sometimes you need to spell things out for people.
And sometimes people are just fucking gross, and we'll just
there is that too. I'm just saying, and like, there is both.
But I think in the case of the guy with the Tophe cosplay, I think it's just he was too excited to see Tophe and did not like process regular
he didn't think about it.
Thoughts. You know? And so it felt like it was very a spur in the moment excite kind of thing, but at the same time just like you try to think that every single cosplayer is a normal human being, and that, you know, it can be very uncomfortable for them if you do something like that. It's best to ask first and like be respectful about it. If they do give you some boundaries, like, do be very respectful about it. Like, don't do to them something that would make you uncomfortable either.
Even if they're wearing a free hug sign, ask. Just fucking ask. It's not hard.
Ask, or just do the gesture like you want to hug.
Air hug.
Like, that's gonna be your asking. Like, basically, if they have a free sign, they want to do it. If you do the gesture before doing it, they'll just approach you usually.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even those are like, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But I think most
conventions at this point have banned those, because it often causes a lot of traffic problems and other problems. So a lot of conventions have actually banned those signs.
I
saw a lot at the last one I was at.
I think at the end of the day, like, you just do what you feel comfortable with. Like, have fun. And if we bring it back to cosplay, like, a lot of my characters are not male characters. I find it more comfortable to do male characters, so a lot of my cosplays are male characters. And I don't care if you're a purist out there or want to be like, no, you can't. I don't really care what you think. If I want to cosplay, my next one is going to be Doctor Doom. I want to cosplay Doctor Doom. I'm cosplaying as Doctor Doom. I don't care.
I think anyone should cosplay
whoever.
That brings up a great point, actually. Yeah, because like, you shouldn't care. You should do this for you.
Exactly. You're not doing it from fucking Joe Schmo at a con, because
like, I often see, I think crossplay is a bit more accepted when you're a girl doing a boy kind of thing. But I feel a lot of people will like take a dump on like guys doing girls, and like, I'm sorry, but they're beautiful.
Any
like,
guy
shut
who
up.
wants to put on a chest plate, I applaud them and be like, props to you.
I mean, that's like the thing is like, I kind of working towards that in a way, because like a lot of my role models and like a lot of my role models in video games and stuff especially are like the female characters, and
Nick,
I'm just
you
like,
are my hero.
I absolutely want to do
that.
that. Well, the next one I'm working on, I'm just like, I got it. Yeah. And if that one works out,
I still want
I'll
to be the 9S to you 2B one day.
Yeah, someday. And honestly, part of what I'm working on could be potentially the basis for that. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so, like, I've had a lot of people come to me and be like, why don't you do this female character? And like, you know what? I feel comfortable doing that. So what's comfortable for me is what I do.
Exactly, and that's all means at the end of the day. Like,
I tend to do a bit of both personally, but it's also because I like my shonen. I want to cosplay my shonen, but I also love the strong girls, so I often want to also cosplay the strong girls.
Also, don't make if you really want to do a character, but you don't or are not comfortable with what they wear, make a variant. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it's like my problem with Cosmos, but that's just me because she's like my ultimate girl.
We will figure out a variant for you.
Honestly, the real creativity comes into making a variant because you designed a thing yourself.
That's my favorite part about cosplay. Again, like this one I'm working on is Doctor Doom. The elements that I'm keeping are obviously the gauntlets and the mask. Everything else, it's coming from my own creativity.
Yep.
And I'm also gonna
LEDs.
I'm also going to say this to kind of expand on this because I think this is also a very important thing to talk about too. Listen, all y'all's skin tones are beautiful. It doesn't matter if your skin tones don't match. You wear that character the way you are.
Yes.
It is fine.
Yes.
Like, you're darker, and you're like, oh, but that character's light. Wear it. Don't give a flying fuck about what some asshole on the internet has to say about you. I see those comments, too, where, like, a black cosplayer or a cosplay character, so it's like, oh, fucking idiot. That's not what they look like. Shut the, like, block them, ignore them. They don't matter. They are subhuman. All right?
Can I jump on that? Body size doesn't matter.
Body size also doesn't matter. Be whoever you want.
Tallest person in the world. If you want to cosplay as, say, Tophe, someone who's small, do it. If you have like a more thick body type, do whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable. Like just show what you want.
So, like, do not listen to those assholes. I know I just called them subhuman. I'm gonna be harsh about it. They're fucking dicks. Don't care about them. They do not matter. They are not worth your time and effort.
Also, something
going like
something that
I see this shit all the time, and it's like
I see it often too,
and I see so many cosplayers who have like complete breakdowns because of this shit. Because somebody wants to be a dick about their outfit. They're like, oh, I did this character, and they're killing it. And then someone's just like, oh, fuck you, they're not black. It's like, fuck you. Like, who asked you?
Also, another pro tip from me, if you want to be a character that shows more skin, but you don't necessarily want to show skin, bodysuits are like very much your friend, because that's kind of what I plan on doing.
Honestly, I did not mention it, but like at some point I did want to also do Pandoria with your Zeke, and I would still be down, but like for sure if I did her, because her front is all opened, I would definitely put like skin,
and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's great.
Fabric there, because I'd be like, I would not feel comfortable otherwise.
That's what I come to terms with, like with some of mine, because I've got like these characters I want to do that show like a lot of skin,
suits, and that's why you're not actually naked.
Yeah. Which I've done versions of those characters where they've just like, they just have a version of the suit, but it's like it's got more length in it where you don't have to show like this part of your skin or something, but you can absolutely do a bodysuit under it.
Since we mentioned the skin color fabric, and let's just put this back in tip and tricks. If you have long socks or something of the sort, do sew it with skin fabric, like a pair of ties or leggings, and it's gonna save you forever because it's just never gonna go down.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
That is what I'm planning to do with Laura ever since I've seen that trick online. I was just like, that is genius. I would not have thought of that.
Yeah, and like also, on the topic of this, like skin and also just like body types, you can get kind of creative if like you want to cosplay a character that's a bit more revealing without actually revealing yourself. What's kind of crazy? One of the best Mai Shiranui cosplays I've seen was actually a dude.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about, yeah. Like,
I do, and so does HK.
Like, this guy made videos of themselves cosplaying Mai Shiranui, and like...
I might need a picture because I'm trying to remember.
Money, remember. I remember the guy who used to make the cosplay tutorials that is like, do this for hours, cry.
Oh yeah, that's one. Okay,
it's him.
Yeah.
It has to be. But he did like crazy shit, like where he had full on like molds.
Yeah, and I know like there's also I think this person also made like videos of them like, all right, taking off my boobs, and then
I think he did.
I know
he's Australian, I believe.
Yeah, his also has pockets to hide a bunch of shit.
Say who the name is?
I'm trying to remember it.
We gotta find a name of it, but
and how much stuff they could fit in their chest plate, and I'm like,
Yeah, they had a video where they were taking out a bunch of cosplay supplies things from their boobs.
You could smuggle in a whole sandwich in that thing, couldn't you? I'm talking like a Subway foot long.
Isn't this one? Yes, it's I think it's AK Wiru, which is also which also went in World Cosplay Summit and won before.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, they like he did the couple of female cosplays with like big boobs.
It's absolutely AK Wiru.
Genius.
Yeah,
yeah. Wiru is insane.
Yeah, and like
he did Tsunade from Naruto.
Yeah, and like, well, I've seen the Tsunade one, but I like the Mai one more. But like, that is probably my favorite Mai Shiranui cosplay.
It's really good.
Very, very good.
Yeah, it is. I saw that cosplay go around whenever it was being made. I was just like, oh my god, this is so genius and amazing.
But yeah, like, those options exist, like, regardless of body type, regardless of gender. You can do these things without making yourself super uncomfortable. You know? So
and there's so many ways to do it, too. Like, the thing is, like, there's no one size fits all to cosplay anything, and that's really nice. It's like intimidating because there's a lot of ways you can do things, and it's a lot of information to learn. But if you're open to learning, there is so much you can do, and it's really really cool.
Like, for example, like the thing that does block me a bit with Cosmos is like the type of shape that she has in her costumes don't give a whole lot of freedom to like hide some things around my body that I'm less confident about.
It's tight.
So it's very tight. That's the thing. Like, while like some other cosplays, I could wear like form shifters and stuff like that a bit more easily underneath. But Cosmos is gonna be a bit like challenging to like, you know, have this shape fit my body type mostly. But like, I think I would be down doing some more revealing things as long as I had skin tone stuff. But like Cosmos, I think it's more like trying to pattern it so that it will fit my actual body type. That is like the big challenge. But I think I still want to do her eventually. Like, it's just like, it's always been a cosplay dream of mine, but like I've always pushed it because like both skill and like not confident, but at the same time I'm kind of sad I did not at least try to do it like when I was a bit younger though.
I'm of the belief that it's never too late, and as I say, use your body. And that goes for everybody. Use your body. Your bodies are beautiful. Like, it's fine if you're not one-to-one with the character.
For sure.
But, because, like, at the end of the day, you are being that character, right? So, what makes this cosplay great to me is, yes, you know, oh, that's so accurate to the game, that's cool and all. But at the same time, what makes it unique is the fact that you're the person wearing it. So it's always your spin. That's what's going to make it ultimately really cool. So, like, if you cosplay...
Sorry.
Like, I was going to say, HK, like, if you cosplay Cosmos, it's not going to look cool to me because it's Cosmos. It's going to look cool to me because it's you as Cosmos. And that's what's going to make it great.
Also, just, like, there are so many ways to cosplay. Like, it's not limited to one way, and the more creative you are with it, like, honestly, the better in a lot of cases. Yeah. I've seen people who have cosplayed, like, the polygon version of Cloud, you know, and they're just like...
so funny.
There's, like, they're just, like, the short, squatty, like low poly
with
Cloud.
A very extremely...
And it works.
Spikes.
Yeah. I've seen people that have worn, like, a cardboard cutout on the front of them as their cosplay. Yeah. I've seen, like, those, like, I've seen people who have cosplayed, like, Toru, the girl from, the invisible girl from My Hero, where they just, like, wear a, like, extender and there's a pair of shoes and, like, a pair of gloves in front of them, and they just puppet it, and, like, those are some of the coolest, most, like, experimental and unique cosplays out there, so, like, just think outside the box. You don't have to match a body type at all to do a cosplay.
No,
or in some cases... You don't even have to do something in 3 dimensions. Like, I've seen that this one made its way on the internet a lot, but like there's that one guy who cosplayed the space pirate from Super Metroid.
That's the one I was thinking of. I love that one so much.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest.
So well.
Like, this honestly, this just came to me. this would be super cool. So, like, what if you cosplayed, like, Paper Mario or Parappa the Rappa, and you just had a, like a little extender from your body with, like, a literal cutout on it in front of you? And you just, like, you could make, like, the feet move or something. Just, like,
that could actually be pretty cool.
Put a motor on it or something. You can do stuff like that. That counts as cosplay.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Yep.
Honestly, anything goes with cosplay.
I mean, I did a cosplay of, if any of you are familiar with Sergeant Frog, in season, I think it's season 1, they have what Kiroro calls the suits, where it's a human suit and his head is taking form of the head. And so I took like 2 salad bowls, cut the bottom out of one, and painted Kiroro's head. And I'm like, hey, I am a Kiroro in a suit. Like, it was so dumb, but it was awesome.
Sometimes the dumber the better. Like, it's a great idea.
I think Cosmos, after I've done at least Laura and Melly, I think I'll be more equipped to attack her. Because right now it's just mostly like I don't have the crafting experience nor LED or whatever, so I think working on projects that have some of these elements first and then getting back to her will be nice, but man, I'm just
my goal every year is to learn a new skill, so that's why I am so varied in everything, is because I try to actively learn something. So this summer I did resin work. Next summer I'm going to be looking at how I can use molding.
Yeah, I think for me, like, to be motivated at, like, learning something new, I honestly often have to integrate some kind of project that will have something new in it, but honestly, to be honest, like, every single project brings its own share of new skills every time, so, like, you always have to learn new things at every single project you start. But, yeah, I think for too long I've stayed into my sort of safe net zone where, like, I will learn new skill, but like I didn't go like crazy into like out of comfort zone on some ways, but like I do want to try and go out of comfort zone a lot more now. I'm just like I want to learn applique and other stuff like that, techniques to bring in more details, but yeah, I have yet to do it, but I really want to do it now. I'm just like, God, I want to step up my game as a cosplayer.
If there's one more tip I can offer, just like overall, I will say it's this. Everything about this is very proactive. So, like, take your time. If you get somewhere and you're not happy with where you want to be, what you want to make it to the next convention with it, don't worry about it. Just push it off. There will always be more conventions.
Push it off. Or like we said earlier, it's also completely valid to wear like parts of the cosplay together. And if anything, it's gonna give you an idea of like, is it gonna hold on?
Yeah, think practically for sure.
It's a good test drive for the cosplay to be like, is there something I need to fix on these parts before continuing on?
So this isn't as related to Xeno, but can I bring up like very shortly a story of like that exact example? My armor making story.
Oh yes.
So
I know exactly which one I think.
Yeah. So for example, I tried to make a full set of basically knight armor for a character I was doing, and
you can say the character.
Well, I mean, it was Adol Kristen from the E series, and I was trying to make his E8 costume, and things were going pretty well, but I was very much a learning process, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was running out of time. I ran out of time, and I thought, oh well, I got everything cut out. I got all this stuff glued. I gotta just apply like the straps, right? Well, do not underestimate that, because the straps did not hold for the way I made it, because I made everything way too flat. I didn't cut all the stuff to shape nearly enough, and so I was really lacking in some areas, because foam is not meant to just, especially the way I had layered it, it did not bend well, and the straps were not strong enough. And so I got it on for a few minutes and it ended up like falling apart very quickly.
Yeah, I think the issue is that the straps were a bit too short and elastic, and since it was mostly I think the type of glue we tried to use was not too great for that combination, and like
I think
since it was an elastic, it was pulling on the glue and just snapped.
I think the problem was multifold, in that it was both that and that I really should have shaped especially the chest piece much more to my form rather than trying to.
But I feel like the
let
straps
it fold around.
really had a lot of stress on the glue and
absolutely.
I do have one last tip too to share.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the conventions I go to are anime conventions, but I do not cosplay as anime characters. That's just preference. There's no really good reason. But, sometimes people don't recognize the costume. And that's okay. I'm still really proud of what I've done, what I've accomplished, and what I've made. And I'm proud to show it in public. Sometimes I won't get anyone to ask for a picture. Maybe I'll get a comment. Maybe someone's like, "Oh, were you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually this character." But that's okay. It's still very fulfilling to be proud enough to wear your cosplay, your art form, outside of
I think
house.
it's just that a cosplay should always be about you doing the project because you want to do the project for you. Yeah. So at the end of the day, just finishing it off and wearing it is your candy at the end of the
if
journey.
No one recognizes that, that's okay. You finished something, you've achieved something. Be proud in that.
I would say,
matter.
as someone who cosplay a lot of niche things,
yeah,
I do say whenever someone does recognize your cosplay, they are freaking happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Fun. On the contrary, I was holding my breath. I was holding my breath here because HK basically said on the contrary, if you purposefully go for that obscure character, when somebody recognizes it, it feels so good because the appreciation out of those one or two or three people or whatever is it makes up tenfold for the amount.
I with my Queen Nia, I had a few people recognize it, and I knew they recognized it because they bowed and said "Your Majesty," and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
that's another thing I can't wait to be Melia for. I'm just
you and I are gonna rock AN next year. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I can't promise for AN because it's a huge project. I'm sorry, it's just I'm very slow.
One day, you and I are gonna rock.
We're not in the plugs yet.
One day, but no. It's just the amount of materials I'm gonna have to buy for her. I'm just
it's okay. You let
it's
me
also
know
something new.
When
it's also something new. So
you let me know when you're ready to bring it out, and I'll discuss Nia, and we will.
Yes,
rock it.
I will nudge you. I will nudge you when I'm ready. But yeah. I was about to say about Margie and Bart, for example, they're fairly niche, but what was cool is that, we wore this before the pandemic, and we did not get recognized too much, just a little bit here and there, but this year, when Nick came over and we cosplayed them again, there was so many people that stopped us compared to before. We're just holy snap! I guess Xenogears is a lot more popular now. I don't know, but we got recognized more than 10 times, and that was a feat.
Well, there's also it feels really nice whenever you meet an old school fan that is into the older games, and they feel they're oh, I don't know a lot of this newer stuff, but I feel validated because you're here.
I feel more people got into Xeno during the pandemic or in the recent years and may have gone back to trying Xenogears because I feel it got recognized a lot more.
I'm also going to say that the event that you're at is going to affect who's going to recognize you greatly because I think I've said this, I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but I definitely said this in chat before. I personally have noticed that the anime conventions tend to skew a lot younger.
You are 1000% correct.
Versus the gaming ones.
And they often go more for mainstream stuff,
Yeah, if I go to an anime convention
than anime.
Well, hear me out. If I go to an anime convention, I see a lot of late teenagers and early 20-year-olds, whereas a gaming one, it tends to be late 20s, 30-year-olds, early 40-year-olds. Like, that's just the demographic that I see.
I would go to more gaming cons if there was any here, but there's none.
That's the problem.
And
anime in the West is like in that phase where it's like just now starting to reach like those, like that kind of outreach where it's where gaming is kind of getting to now, or at the point of now where you've got all these old school fans.
I also think it also goes back to what I mentioned earlier with Reyne about how, like, you notice how Reyne was talking about how they're doing all this cosplay in high school, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids growing up have access to that, and so that's why you're seeing them at these anime conventions, because they now have all this access to cosplay, and anime conventions in general have a bigger emphasis on cosplay than the gaming ones. That's not to say that there's no cosplay at gaming conventions. There are absolutely cosplay at gaming events, but there's, like, you'll notice a huge difference between the cosplay scene at MagFest versus Katsucon, just as an example.
If you go to an anime,
it's night or day.
But...
MagFest is worth going to, and there's definitely a lot of cosplay at MagFest, but it is night and day when you look at MagFest versus Katsucon when it comes to cosplay.
Katsucon has always also been extremely, like, bring out your extremely, like, best cosplay ever kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of, like, crazy cosplays there. It's insane. But
to go back to what I'm trying to say is,
yeah,
as somebody who went to both MagFest and Katsucon, like, one after the other in the same year, the demographic at Katsucon skewed significantly younger than it did at MagFest.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will say, as someone who goes to a lot of small, like, conventions in more rural areas, you're gonna go to, like, both gaming and anime conventions, or even Comic-Cons, you know, and you're gonna see, or like nowadays, back whenever I was younger, you wouldn't have seen anything like this. You would have been like, oh yeah, you're gonna see like mostly like leaning towards like video games, and everything else is going to be like, you know, very much more obscure if you see it. Like, you're not gonna see it nearly as much. But nowadays, you're gonna walk into either of those conventions and you're gonna see at least a few like Genshin Impact cosplays. You're gonna see some anime. Like, the younger generation has like latched on more, and I understand completely why. Like, it's way more available than it used to be.
The gacha games have invaded all conventions.
Yeah,
like,
they're just everywhere.
It's
like,
to the
if
point
all else
that
fails.
I will say a little slight pet peeve right now. Like, ever since I came back from the pandemic, I'm just like, all I see in like artist alleys is like 90% Genshin and like VTubers, and like all of the rest, like, there's very little variety, or like they'll have some stocks that vary sometimes, but like, as much as I like Genshin, at the same time I'm just like, can we please have more can we please have like other stuff, like back in the day where we would have like mainstream anime but with other more niche things, because now it's starting to get a bit too much just that.
At this current time, not to date the podcast, but you're going to see you're not going to see nearly as many cosplays at a lot of these things as you will for like Genshin Impact, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Demon Slayer.
I mean, if that's what you like,
that's fine.
Okay. That's okay though. Like, cosplays, I don't mind. It's just mostly like the merch. Like, I do feel like it'd be nice to have a bit more variety.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like it's okay too. It's fine. It's just like slight pet peeve of like, I miss the old days of like having all that like variety in the artist alley.
I am gonna say, like, Genshin and Star Rail are hot right now. Like, we're recording this
as well.
VTubers as well. We're recording this right after New York Comic Con, and I got to go for one day. And the Genshin and Honkai Star Rail booths that they had there were absolutely insane.
I wish I could have seen it in person, though. Like, every time they do a booth here, it's like a little print off and like a table with nothing on it, and we're just like, this is so lame.
Yeah, the Genshin booth was crazy what they had, and then the Honkai one was interesting because it was more than just a booth.
My boy.
It was more than just a booth. It was like a whole little experience. So they gave you like a little passport, and then you had to like go to different stations.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's like they went nuts, and then they had this thing where like if you played the game for 5 minutes, they gave you like some free swag. Yeah, it's those two games have blown up so much.
Bad.
That sounds like Nintendo level shit for a booth.
No, it is crazy. Like how big of a booth those two games had at Comic-Con this year.
I think if we're starting to get into Hoyoverse, we should probably wind down the episode.
Yeah, for sure. That was just a very brief side tangent on that, but
that's on me. I threw that out as an example.
No,
That's all right. This is a very long episode.
Was there anything else we wanted to bring up on that? Since, or just cosplay in general?
I think we covered like a lot of the points of cosplays. At the end of the day, cosplays were fun. Do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
And,
don't spend too much money.
If you
definitely don't do that.
Like, there are so many rabbit holes.
That's a debatable question.
I mean, if you have to choose between eating food and
absolutely
your means
cosplay,
and stay healthy.
Food.
Just watch your budget. Create a budget. Stay within it.
Always prioritize your health and safety. Don't go broke because of it. Don't make a cosplay that you can't, take a piss in.
That too.
And just have fun. Just have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Don't wire your LEDs to your cod
Don't be a
piece. Just like make sure that you make it convenient enough that you can exist for a day in it, or like however long amount of time you want to, and
have fun.
Yeah, have fun. Don't torture yourself to have that fun.
Yes, cosplay is fun, and cosplay is not consent.
Have a cosplay friend that can help you if you have a cosplay that's very hardcore.
Also, remember, there's a reason that the blades from Xenoblade 2 are not normal human beings, and same thing with most characters from video games. They don't apply to human standards. Keep that in mind when you make your cosplay.
I still need to see that cosplay.
I will have to find one but I mean, it was, they clearly didn't cut themselves in half, so don't worry.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. All right. Well, that was a very great conversation. Thank you guys, especially you guys that are cosplay connoisseurs, experts, and whatnot. Okay. Do we want to go around and say what we're up to? I guess there's a lot of cosplay stuff. You can go into
not cosplay stuff.
No more cosplay talk.
At the moment, not so much. The con season's over. But I guess I could start. I'm mainly streaming nowadays. I stream every week currently on Friday and Sunday at 8 p.m. EST. And I'm doing an East Marathon. I might be done soonish, but at the same time, the current game I'm on is a bit longer, so I'm not sure. And
which one are you on right now?
East 9.
Okay.
So basically, I played all of the East in chronological order for the 35th anniversary, and I'm at the last one of that order, which is 9. And I did do the crazy and the order East 10 in Japanese. So I might play that a bit on stream, but I don't know yet if I'm going to play the whole thing on stream. Maybe I'll play just a couple chapters on stream and then move on to something else. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. Aside from that, I'm not doing too much right now, even cosplay-wise. I'm kind of too busy with life to get there. But I will get back to downstairs eventually.
All right. Let's see. How about you, B? What are you up to?
Sure, not cosplay. Well, I'm just 3D printing stuff, but gaming wise, I've decided to go back and play Scarlet Nexus. I did beat the Kitsune path, and I'm going through the Yuito path. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I actually do going through it a second time. So I'm cruising through that because when you play the clear data, you can keep your level. So, you're fighting level
probably helps a lot.
5 others while you're level 60. So you get to more experience the storyline. So I am really thoroughly enjoying that. I've been also dabbling in a little bit of Mega Man, the Battle Network collection. I never realized how difficult it was. When I played as a kid, it was much easier. But so I'm switching between the two right now.
Okay. All right. How about you, Nick?
I guess going off the Mega Man thing, I started Mega Man 8, which I've been playing through all the Mega Mans the last, at least this year. No, it's been the last couple of years. Justin is very familiar with them. I did not grow up as much with them. Justin is sort of coaching me a bit on them, and I've been having a lot of fun with them. But other than that, I've been playing a lot of other stuff. I probably mentioned this before. I beat Final Fantasy VII for the first time this year. Really enjoyed it in the end. Wasn't sure how I'd feel because I've not always had the best history with Final Fantasy. But I do like some of those games. That is one of those games that took definitely a while to click for me. But I eventually came around and I love it. All the Mega Man games have been great. They are difficult at first, but once you get like the hang of them, they're really nice. I've been playing a lot of games this year. I recently beat Trails in the Sky 3.
Let's go.
In the Legend of Hero series, and just started the Zero and Azure stuff, which the start of Zero is pretty interesting. Like, it jumps right into it. That's been nice. Not been working too much on cosplay lately. I've definitely got materials and plans made out for some of it, but I haven't got big into a lot of it yet. I'm kind of easing myself back in. I've been working on a lot of art recently and just doing other life pursuits, such as things around my job and, other things like that. I've been trying to to get myself more into doing stuff on the side for digital art, and that's been nice. I've been figuring out a lot. I've been trying to experiment a bit. It's been fun. I've gotten a lot accomplished. I'm fairly happy with where I'm at. I just need to keep moving forward, and we're good.
You mentioned the Trail series, and I have been playing that a lot too lately. I'm trying to catch up.
Well, we're making progress, and I'm enjoying it. That's all that matters.
Yes.
But hopefully next cosplay stuff will be really good. I'm working on some tougher stuff, and those last few years I hadn't done nearly as much with it, but I'm enjoying what I've been doing, getting back into it slowly. So it's been nice.
All right. How about you, Justin?
So I've been streaming Naruto Boundless Trails on Retro Roulette, but I'm actually taking a break from streaming. Some of you might know this, but I actually moved. So this episode is actually the first episode I'm recording in the new place. So that's pretty cool. And I'm still trying to get this, make sure everything is set up properly. And I'm hoping to get a new desk soon. So I hope to get back to streaming possibly this week. But it won't be Naruto since we're in October. And on Retro Roulette, we like to play horror games in October. And so I'm going to be taking a little break from Naruto for a little while longer while I get everything set up. But I'll try to stream something soon. It just won't be Naruto. But I am enjoying Naruto like crazy. It's really, really good. I didn't expect to like it as much as I have been. But it really took me by surprise, and I recommend that game. Other than that, I am working on some reviews, and that's pretty much everything that's going on with me. Just kind of settling in the new place, and hopefully be up to some more interesting things in the coming weeks.
That actually brings up, Jintoki and I just recently started a similar game. We're both playing Signalis, which is great anime sci-fi horror game, if anybody wants to get into that.
Wait, what game? You cut out for a second.
Signalis, sorry.
Oh, Signalis, okay.
Yeah, I started playing that.
I've seen some people stream that. It looks interesting, but I don't think I'd be able to play it.
Yeah, anime survival horror.
It's kind of like a top-down view version of like an old school Resident Evil. There's a lot more focus on like little puzzles and exploration than there is anything else. But there is like shooting. You know, it's just like you aim in a direction with... It's almost like twin stick shooting in a way, but it's largely more focused on like the puzzly aspect and exploring. Mm-hmm. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's a really fun game. It goes it's already showing some interesting directions it's going with like its narrative. It's very much a psychological horror kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But style, as soon as I saw it, immediately like got me. I'm like, oh, yeah, I have to play.
Yeah, the style spoke to me definitely. It's just that it's the type of game that I know I would get stressed on and then not play.
Yeah,
it features lots of robots, so do what you want with that info.
I did get spooked a few times, but it's been really good. But yeah, as for me, I'm kind of in creative burnout / slump right now. So I've been playing a lot more games and reading lately. So yeah, I started Signalis, like he said. I have been playing Baldur's Gate 3. I was quite addicted to it for a while, and then I kind of slowed down because I was stuck at a part that I had some moral complications about. So like, I just had to kind of decide which path I wanted to pursue. So that kind of slowed me down, and then I randomly got addicted to Stardew Valley. So that happened.
Nice.
I guess I also needed something more chill and serene.
It's definitely a very chill game.
Yeah, something to balance out the choice heavy Baldur's Gate 3. So that was it's been a lot. Nice. Yeah. But
I have an idea if everybody's done. If not, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna mention the Steam Next Fest is going on right now. I've only played one demo so far. Little Goody Two Shoes has been really good, and I'm actually thinking of buying it day one.
Very nice.
So nice. I definitely recommend that. But you were saying, Nick?
Oh, I was gonna say, cool idea in case we, don't have another episode for this particular season. Does everybody have like a particular, maybe like a spoopy themed game they want to share? Like recommend maybe, for instance, on the subject of the Steam Next Fest, there was one game I'm trying to remember the name of actually that I was like paying attention to.
I think most of those very weird Japanese indie games are always fun to watch.
Those are pretty cool. Like the Chill as Art games.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
If you're into like the first person, like just exploration kind of thing, very good. My personal recommendation for a horror game, I think I'm gonna go with one that I've been addicted to recently, on and off. Voices of the Void. I think it's only available as a demo on itch.io, but it's basically like free right now. It's an alien spooky game where you explore, and it does have a pretty heavy learning curve at first, but it's got like that aspect of you explore, encounter alien events that are just very randomized, and you can kind of decorate your base over time as you gain more points, like a la Animal Crossing, except for think of it in first person and something that is sort of like the Source engine, if you're familiar, like the Half-Life and Portal stuff. So that is a cool horror-ish game. I was just gonna I'm gonna throw that one out there as mine. If you guys got other spoopy games, go for it.
I almost bought this at NYCC over the weekend, but Fatal Frame: Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, that remaster had just
Fatal
came
Frames
out.
are classics. They're really cool.
Yeah, I happen to really like that series, and I haven't played the fourth one yet, and I do want to get to it at some point, because that was always the one that kind of got away, right? Because we never got that on the Wii, and it'd be nice to play that. And I've heard good things about it, even though it's weird because I'll read reviews for Fatal Frame, and one thing that I've seen more than one reviewer complain about is the fact that the game has gameplay elements.
I feel like there's a thing with Fatal Frame where you get people that are not into the experience of Fatal Frame, and they just don't get it. It doesn't click with them.
Yeah, there was this reviewer that was saying oh, it's weird when you shoot a ghost and then you just start seeing like scores on the screen and like combos. I'm like, they're like, oh, they're like takes me out of experience. I'm like, no, but like that's like fun though.
Yeah, it's part of it. It's part of it.
Yeah, and I remember watching my brother play those games, and it also seems kind of stressful because even though that's still on the screen, the ghost will disappear and then reappear elsewhere.
I adore those games, but I cannot play alone. I'm like, I get too stressed. I'm the kind of person, like, I'll try to do the exploring, then the ghost will appear, I'll throw the controller at the first person next to me.
Though, to pick a game that I actually do own, I guess I could pick World of Horror, which I do actually want to stream very soon. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll play that this week.
It's been out It's been out
for a while, but it is really cool. Like, I was over a friend's house a while back, and they were showing me like this game, and like I was blown away at how cool it was.
Isn't it coming out of early access?
I think it's been out of early access. It's out of
early access.
Yeah.
No, it's had some bugs over the years, but I think it's pretty stable now. And I'll just put it this way: if you go in knowing nothing about it, and you like point and click adventures, if you like Junji Ito style art, if you like an RPG style battle system, and if you're okay with roguelite elements, which is very much a thing I'm kind of contentious about, but I like the game. I think that's saying something. It's all of that, and it's very well done.
It's very dynamic. Like, you can play through World of Horror 4 times in a row, and those 4 playthroughs will be completely different.
Yeah.
That's always interesting when games do that.
It's part of the fun of it. Like, I think it's one of those ones that say, like, there's a lot of roguelikes out there that are like, oh, it's a shorter experience, but, it's hard to beat. And it's like, sometimes they're a little bit longer than you actually want. This one doesn't really overstay its welcome. And it's like, every time you play it, it feels like a different scenario. Like,
and you can also, you can beat a scenario in World of Horror, like, relatively quickly. I remember the one that my friend and I played. That lasted, I think, just over an hour.
Here's how I'll compare it. You ever have like a board game you like to play with friends, just like on repeat, and it can go a few different ways? That's what World of Horror kind of like really resembles in a good way.
Yeah. In fact, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it is very much like a board game. Very much like that. Like, imagine like a single player board game. That's World of Horror.
A really close comparison would probably be like Betrayal on House on the Hill, which was one that used to be kind of rare-ish and became like super popular in a lot of ways because and it's just like, oh yeah, it's like you're gonna play one scenario, but it has like 30 or 40 different scenarios that can play out because of how big it is. So think of it that way. It's a really good game in that like style.
Oh, by the way, it leaves early access on October 19th, which this episode will be.
Oh wow,
trying to be out by then. Because I know the Switch version's coming out soon.
Ooh.
Oh, so then you know what? Maybe I will stream it this week to celebrate that.
Very nice, very nice. As far as the Steam Next Fest stuff goes, I do have one recommendation, and I need to play a little bit more of it, but I'm actually pretty excited for that Yohane the Parhelion Blaze in the Deep Blue game, which is a Metroidvania based off an anime spin-off that is based off of an anime fantasy spin-off of Love Live, of all things. A series I've never watched, but it came out like they made a fantasy series based off of it last season. So, like, I think the summer season, actually, of anime. And, yeah, that game looks really good.
I could mention a couple games from the Steam Next Fest as well. Like, one that I know a lot of people that got a lot of attention on Twitter is Another Crab's Treasure, which is essentially, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it's somebody was taking elements from the Dark Souls games and even some Sekiro elements, but you're playing as a hermit crab. And one of the interesting mechanics with it is you have to go and find new shells. So you can leave your shell, then go to another shell, and then that shell could have like unique stats and even special abilities. So That one's surprisingly fun. I actually quite liked what I played of it. Another one that's really cool is Ashura the Striker. If you like old school arcade games like Space Harrier, you need to check this one out because it is hitting on all the right notes. It's super fun. It's a nice 20-minute demo. Check that one out for sure. And then the last one I'll recommend is a game called Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. It is it's basic. Think of like a Banjo-Kazooie game, but you play as a little taxi cab.
That sounds cute.
It's super adorable. And you get to just get to drive around, jump on a bunch of platforms, collect things. So it's hitting on a lot of those old N64-esque vibes. Oh yeah, okay, so B had to go. But yeah, that's basically the Steam Next Fest. I guess we should probably wrap it up.
We're gonna.
Sorry, I keep on bringing up topics to end with.
Dang it, Nick.
Yeah.
How dare you, Nick?
It's okay. It's okay.
I can see that we're 3 hours and 10 minutes in. It's okay.
3 hours and 17 minutes.
Let's stop it before it gets any farther. All right. Well, thank you guys for this chat, and thanks for everyone listening. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
All right.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Happy Halloween.